Hello, welcome, welcome a little bit early. Yeah, I pressed the wrong button and we missed out the last track on the holding pattern music. We're about, what, 2 minutes early, you get a bonus 2 minutes of content. Yes, awesome. Welcome everybody, I hope you can see and hear me okay. As always, I've been farting about with the settings and probably broken everything, so do let me know if I'm too loud or too quiet. But welcome. It is Sunday, it is the weekend. Guthorm says hello. It is the weekend and it's the time of the week when I work normally on my Warhammer army, the unending forces of the Holy Contrivance. However, for the last few weeks and for the coming weeks, I am not working on my army. I'm working on the Warhammer Conquest stuff because it's piling up and I need to get it built so I can then put it to one side and paint it later. So I'm working my way through all the buildy parts of the Warhammer Conquest. Yes, it's good fun. So yes, welcome. If you've never seen one of these before, basically, I'll probably cut 3 things off a sprue and not glue them together and talk incessantly for 3 hours. I'll hang out with you guys in the chat. Basically, at the weekend, I do my Warhammer stuff, and it's a chance for me on a Sunday. This is just a chance for me to hang out with you guys and have a laugh, basically. This is your show, as we say on the E-Model show as well. This is your show, so make sure to ask me lots of questions in chat. This is just to hang out with you guys. I will crack on with some work, but more than likely, I'll just sit and talk to you. We'll be doing some sticker giveaways and stuff later on. As always, if you're watching this, if you want to ask me questions or interact with me, I have the chat here on my iPad of iPads. Make sure you put your comment in a big, fat, capital letter. Wow, that's rubbish, isn't it? Let me rephrase that sentence. Make sure you put your comment in big, fat, capital letters, and that way I have a chance of seeing your comment. If you want to, though, you can click on the little $sign at the bottom of the chat window. Let's just get rid of this. Why is there a thing there? It's giving me autocorrect or spell check for words I've not even written yet. There's a little dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. You can click on that and that will take you to the super chat. You can do a super chat. It'll put your comment in a big coloured box. And also, it'll make a little noise and pop up on screen. And I'll have no choice but to read it out because I won't be able to miss it. And don't forget, of course, if you can't get access to chat, if you're watching this and you can't see the chat, there's chat here. But if you can't see the live chat where you can do the typey, click on the little YouTube icon that's down here in the bottom right-hand corner somewhere of the video viewer. That will take to the YouTube page where you will be able to interact with the live chat. My cutting mat is disappearing. Hang on a second. Pushing. Oh, there we go. So, yes, we will carry on. As always, don't forget, we are doing the Stream Boss Battle, which is ongoing. If you're wondering what this is, if you're new to the show. Current Stream Boss. This is basically where you guys have a chance to win between £200 to £500 worth, let's say, of Warhammer and Forge World goodies. Basically, whoever is the stream boss, you guys have to work to get him down to 0 health. His health is currently 81131 out of 100,000. Current stream boss is Simon Reynolds, or our Lord and Saviour Kevin, because I pressed the wrong button. It says Model Making Guru, but that's wrong. It's not actually me, it's Kevin. Simon Reynolds, our very good friend and Golden Demon winner, let's just leave it at that. He's the current stream boss. You need to get his health down to 0. Whoever gets his health down to 0 becomes a new stream boss and lays claim to a big fat pile of cash booty. Basically, the way to get him down is, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe and click the notification bell. That'll take a tiny bit of his health off. You can also do a super chat. Every time you do a super chat using the little dollar symbol, that will take some of his health off. Or you can put a tip through the tip jar, which is streamlabs.com/model making guru. And the more you put through as a tip, or the more you put through as a super chat, the more of his health you take off. And whoever gets him to 0 wins all the money raised through the super chats and the tip jar, and that's typically between £200 to £500. You don't win the money, but I tell you how much is there, and you then tell me what you want me to buy for you from either Games Workshop or Forge World. And like I say, when Simon won, he got about £500 worth of stuff. Aviad before him got about £300 worth of stuff. So get your things coming through. It is really, really warm in here. I think we're about to have a thunderstorm. Yes, that'd be cool. It was nice and cool, and I had one side window at the side of the house, so I closed the side window, and now this room's got instantly hot. It's kind of annoying. So it's a bit hot and sweaty, but hopefully this week as well we won't have any broadband issues. Last week the programme just went to pot, basically, because my broadband was all over. We've had 24 drop frames so far, and that's probably because I opened a browser window for a moment. I think we're doing okay. So yes, so welcome. Today we're going to be working on, if you remember last week I was working on something or other, I don't remember what now, some of the green dudes. It's a bit rubbish, isn't it? I was working on some of the Lord Felthius and his tainted cohort. Yes, well, I got them done. And I built some of the scenery parts as well. So we're up to the Redemptor Dreadnought. I actually caught up with myself after the show last week, which fell over. I just finished off a few bits and bobs and got it up so we can build the Redemptor Dreadnought today. Now, it might not take us all of the show to do. And if we get him done, what I'm doing is I'm kind of taking the magazines apart and storing them away while I don't need them. And all the building parts and all the painting parts I'm keeping these little treasury tags so I can work my way through. Because what I want to do is I'm running out of space, and I'm preemptively building all the Warhammer Conquest stuff so that later on in the year I can get back to actually filming painting them for you. I just need to get them built because it's a lot easier to have some of these in a transport case or on my display shelves than it is to have them in sprues, in packets, in a box, in the front room, taking loads of space. And I can put the magazines away in the folder. So we're going to work on this today. We might possibly get that done, and then after that it's the Death Guard Rhino. Yeah, so we'll see. I've only got 3 sprues today. But before we do anything, I will take a swig of my enormous, I'm sorry Spid, it's tea. In my defence, it's Barry's tea, which is the best tea in the world. Let's have a quick look at chat though and see who we have in. Remember, if you are watching this and you're not in the chat, you won't be able to win stickers and things later on. Now, I know Pascal was the first in technically because I saw him say hello when I was still setting the stream up like 6 weeks ago. So welcome, Pascal. Fubits is the first comment I have on here. We have Vasily is in as well, so welcome to both of you. Dad, one of your mods, Dad is a lovely, lovely fella. He'll really look after you. He'll keep you safe. He'll mother you. But if you get on the wrong side of him, he'll snap your spine with his little finger like that. So yeah, don't get on the wrong side of him. He's lovely. I'm only joking. Dad is one of your mods. Just Django. Hey everyone, doing good. Welcome, Just Django. I'm fine, thank you. James Pisol is in. Thanks to you, I use Pledge like it's going out of style. Yes. Let's have a look who else we've got. We've got Spiddy Curators in. Welcome, Spid. We have Mordraka09, evening all from Australia. G'day, bro. Welcome. I'm assuming it's like towards the middle of the night there, or very early in the morning. So, yes, thank you for coming in, Mordraka. We have, there is some talk about Pledge there. Pledge is an awesome gloss varnish. It's basically an acrylic gloss varnish, but don't forget, it's not actually a model making product. I don't use it for making glossy models. Just to avoid any arguments, I don't use it if I want to make a glossy model. I don't actually make glossy models, but it's brilliant if you just want a quick gloss coat for doing your decals and weathering and things like that. It's a good utilitarian gloss coat rather than using your expensive Alclad Aqua Gloss or something else just to put some, pin washes and things. It's a good little alternative. We have Dad's talking about his Bane blade, and I'm asking him to make sure he does a broadsword variant or broadsword variant. We do shamelessly rip off the Bardic broadcasts in my streams a little bit, but then I always give him credit and say, go and subscribe to the Bardic broadcasts. Broadsword. Who else do we have in? We have I've got the sniffly nose already. Fantastic. We have Akar Phone says Dine Gatingwe Nele. I don't know what that is. I don't know which language that is, but we shall find out, I'm sure. But welcome. I wondered if it might be Thai or something like that, but I don't know. We have... Hopefully it's not just a spam commenting something rude, because you never know, it might be. Pascal is in. He comes back in later on. Walter Wilmoth, welcome, Walter. Good to see you as always. Nim is in. Nim's half awake. She's not had a coffee yet. Have all your coffee, Nim. Get yourself awake. We're live now. Tom Rickliff. Hi all, just listening while working in the kitchen. Might get to wash Sazabi sprues. Oh, you're in the kitchen. What are you making? What are you eating? Fluffy Guts is in. Welcome, Fluffy Guts. And I think Scott is in as well. He's not got a comment there yet, but I think Scott is in as well. So we've got our Orkney contingent. Fluffy and Scott, our two Orcadians. We're talking about coffee. Somebody mentions tea. Speedy Curators started foaming at the mouth because somebody said they didn't like coffee. And I've said to Speed basically that I love coffee and I love tea, but I love coffee. I don't like tea. I do like Barry's tea because it's an exception. But I've already had a litre of coffee this morning, so I can't have another litre of coffee. I will be like, whizzing my male chestal protuberances off. But I do like Daragbit Gold something. I don't know what it's called. It's just a big tin about this big, and it's like that big. It's full of all the coffee in the world. I love it. Two cup this big. It's 1 litre. 2 scoops of Daragbit's Gold something or other. 4 sugars and a healthy heaping of maple syrup. Could get the words out there. Maple syrup in your coffee. It's really nice. Try it. Doesn't really work in tea, but it works in coffee. We have... Who else has come in? There's been a lot of chat this morning before we got going, so I'm trying to find the new people as they come in. Wayne Haywood is in. Welcome, Wayne. Scott Sutherland then appears, as if by magic. Who else comes in? Paul at Team Inept is in, which means everybody's banned. He also says that when I said a bonus 2 minutes, he says a bonus is a bit of a stretch. Yeah. More of me is never a good thing. Chris at Gross Models is in. Welcome, Chris. Paul at Team Inept and Chris at Gross Models are your other 2 mods for the moment. I'm sure we may get more mods later on. Dad asks the very important question without me prompting him. I know he's getting better. Without me prompting, Dan says, what's on your bench and what's in your belly? So yes, what's on your bench, what you're working on at the minute, and what's in your belly, either what have you had for your dinner or what you're going to have for your dinner later on, depending on where you are in the world, what time zone, what have you had or what you're going to have. It's the most important thing we need to know from you all day today is food. Talk about food. Food is the best thing. Let's have a look. Candygram for Mongo is in. Welcome, Candygram for Mongo. Walter Wilmer says, has 70-mile-an-hour winds in Tennessee for the past days. Fun stuff. My brother lives in Tennessee. Paul is doing slow-cooked lamb and is drooling, says Dad. Or rather, Dad's drooling. Paul says, super slow roast lamb and a load of HO scale odds and sods. Doing HO scale buildingsy things. Let's have a look. Dave at Wiser Rumgun Barker is in. Welcome, Dave. About time. Richard Gibbs. Welcome, Richard. He says, sup, guys. And then Dave signs out and then signs back in again as his actual correct channel, which is, of course, Butcher That Model. Yeah, right, okay. He signs in himself and then signs in as Butcher That Model. Another one of your mods for today. Let's have a look. We've got Fraser Davies says afternoon. Tom says, could you give me an example of wet blending on a spoon or some scrap styrene? I don't actually have any spoons to hand. I don't actually have any paints to hand. I've got my paint stored away because I'm not in the middle of painting at the minute. But it's quite kind of simple. It's just a case of paint a colour and then get the next colour and paint that on before the first one's actually fully dried. It works best with things like glazes where you've got like a glaze medium and some colour and some shades, and also those new contrast paints because they take longer to dry. They're quite good. I will have to do. I'll when I'm back painting it, because I've got no paint or anything out at the minute. It's just literally buildy stuff. When I do get back to painting, I'll maybe do a little how-to video. I'm not an expert on wet blending. I'm not done a lot of it at all, so I'm not fantastic at it. But I'll give it a go. But it's really just working in, instead of like painting a light blue colour or dark blue colour and then trying to do a light blue highlight, what you might do is, a light blue colour or one of the colours, and then the other colour, say the light colour, work it over the top and try and, where you'd normally get two dry colours and you get a straight line, because both of them are still wet. Obviously you're applying one and one's still not set yet. You get a blend. You can blend them in together. You can mix them. You can do it with, if you do oil paints, it's always wet blending. It's basically like painting with oil paints, because if you paint an oil paint and then a second colour, they're going to take days to dry. So it's a bit like painting with oil paints. You can blend and fade colours. Let's have a look. I'm getting really warm in here. Oh, I think we're going to have a big thunderstorm because it's suddenly gone really, really hot, but also a bit sticky. It's not even sunny today. Stevie and Junior Outdoors. Welcome, Stevie and Junior Outdoors. Welcome to the show. Let's have a look. People talking about what they bench and belly. I need to send you some maple from Gatlingburg. Ooh, that'd be nice. I'll happily accept all deliveries of foods and especially maple syrup. Spiddy Curate is having chicken and pear sandwich. A chicken and pear sandwich. I'm not saying it's bad. I actually quite like the sound of it. I've never thought of having pear with meat, savoury. I like the sound of that. I may have to investigate that. Chicken and pear sandwich, and he's still painting Marty McFly for his son. David Butcher, that model, has a ham wrap for lunch and the Black Knights on the bench. Fluffy Guts, on my bench is an XV88 broadside not broadsword. Broadside battlesuit, and in belly is nothing yet. What is planned? You need to know, if you've not got anything in your belly yet, what is planned? Quano Man says, real grade, Sazabi is on the bench and 6 tons of biscuits in the belly. Oh, 6 tons of biscuits, yes. Nim says, bench Petite Bear Guy Ayami, before I tackle the shiny Shinmusha Gundam. Belly, coffee, later, pork dumplings. Oh, pork dumplings. My local takeaway does the most delightful pork dumplings, but you get 2 and it's like a £5 thing for 2. £5 for 2. I'm like, oh, I'd eat them all day, but not 2 for £5. Oh, no. Wayne Haywood is on the bench, basing his Legion of Rebel troops and finally nearly finished. Belly, Hammond, Piccalilli Sarnie. Oh, Piccalilli, get in. Pascal Liaver still sanding the Sazabi tonight. Pork belly slow cooked in cola and then on the barbecue. Oh yes. Things I've learned: don't ever slow cook pork or gammon or any kind of meat in Dr Pepper. It doesn't work. I tried it once because we do. You know, everybody knows about like slow cooking gammon and pork and stuff in Coke or Coca-Cola. Don't do it in Pepsi because Pepsi's rubbish. Do it in Coke. It's quite nice. We tried it once in Dr Pepper. It didn't. We didn't. Let's just say that evening we didn't have gammon for dinner. We have Mordraka says bacon and beef lasagna. Oh yes. Pox Walkers, Sons of the Loin Tactical Marines. I think. Do you mean Sons of the Lion? Sons of the Loin. He says loin. Sons of the Loin Tactical Marines, Terminators, SM Bikers, and a handful of NIDs. That's like, so you're basically painting all the Warhammer, all of it. Wow, that's a big load of stuff you're working on there. Scott Sutherland says, roast chicken in my belly, IDF on the bench. Scott will always be working on. One day Scott will work on something that isn't part of the Israeli Defence Force and the world will just stop. We won't know what to do. It'll be lions and tigers and bears, oh my, and cats and dogs living together. Tom says he was looking for the wet blending technique to do miniature Han Solo's overcoat on Endor from Star Wars Legion game. I would have a look at... I don't have any tutorials on my channel, however, I'm not afraid to plug other people's stuff. Do have a look at Dr. Faust's Painting Clinic. I'm sure he's got something on wet blending on there. He's got a ton of tutorials and all kinds of stuff. Also, I can't think of who else has got one. I know someone else that's got a specific wet blending tutorial, but I can't remember which channel it is. I do apologise. Interzone 88 is in. Hi Fox, hi all, hi Dad. Welcome Interzone. G'day. That's 2 from Australia we've got. And Tom says he's going to get some stromboli for lunch. What the hell is stromboli? It sounds like the kind of thing you clean an ice hockey with. What ice hockey ring? What's a stromboli? Is that a kind of Italian sausage? I mean, I'm guessing it's obviously Italian. Hey, it's a stromboli. You need to tell me what a stromboli is. It sounds fantastic. Walter is working on Cesabe and country ham and eggs. Yes. John Kenwood is in. Welcome, John. Fluffy Gut says, no food is planned so far. I'm having a low-cal carb day. Oh. Coke is releasing a 1985 recipe for a limited time. Is it the new Coke that failed miserably? Let's have a look. John Kenwood says, Dr. Pepper needs to be boiled with brown sugar and used as a barbecue baking sauce. That might be interesting. It just doesn't work if you put all your slow cook stuff in the vat. It just doesn't work that way. 2 litres of Dr. Pepper and heat it for like 12 hours. It just doesn't. I don't know why. Coke's really nice. No. Earl D is in. Welcome, Earl D. Interzone says, stuffed red capsicums. Ooh, and Death God Blighthauler. Earl D is working on Cesabe and cheese and tomato sarnies. Excellent. Tom says a stromboli. Hey, a stromboli is kind of like an inside-out pizza with sauce on the side for dipping and pouring over. I need that now in my face right now. Right now. Wayne Haywood says, Tom, if it's for camo for his wet blending, try Sora Astro's Legion videos. He does camo on either Rebel troops or Commandos. Want to try that myself. Tom calls Walter both Water and Wallata. Are you having a typing day, Tom? Are you having a typing moment there? Nim says a stromboli is similar to a calzone, but with slits on top. That would be brilliant if I knew what a calzone was. I don't even know what a calzone is. I think it's a calzone folded over pizza. That makes sense in that case. Yes. Anyway, I think we're caught up there. So, yes, if anybody hasn't told us what's on the bench and belly yet. For me, on the bench, obviously today we're going to be working on the Redemptor Dreadnought. In belly, I don't know what we're having for tea yet. We will have a delivery from Amazon later on this afternoon after I've finished the show. And it'll be probably, I'm thinking today it might be a salady thing, I think, today. Because I do like, what I like to do is get a pack of Herta hot dogs, cook them and chop them up into little tiny pieces, and get a nice big fat salad going on. Lots of potato salad, lots of coleslaw, lots of leafy bits, some chopped up peppers and bean sprouts and all kinds of bits and bobs. Some raw onion chopped up and mixed in. Hot dogs, mix, blah, 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 some sprinkly, spicy things, and that's a really nice salad. And sometimes it's nice. I know I'm a bit of a carnivore and I eat like a horse, but sometimes a salad is quite nice. Anyway, let's do some work. Pineapple sandwich, southern thing, lol, says James Pissol. Chris says calzone is just a Cornish pasty, I think. Oh. Iru says, so roast groks then. Welcome, Iru. Iru, I should say, not Iru. Iru. I love me a stromboli from New York style local joint. You wouldn't have need to have said New York. I kind of would have guessed that. Anyway, right. So anyway, let's just do some work. Guns Down Inhale is in as well. Welcome, Guns Down. So I'm going to crack on now. Let's have a look and see what we need to do. Remember, if you want to ask me a question, please do. Please do in the chat, because it gives me something to talk about with you guys. If you want me to see your comment, put it in big fat capital letters, or if you can do the super chat. So I can't imagine this is going to be a complicated build at all. Clipper safety. Do I need to read? And I might have to stop doing this because I might have to get an adult to help me with the sharp, snippy bits. Not really. Butcher That Model says, salad is not nice, it's my food's food. Yeah, Butcher That Model, Dave's a butcher. He doesn't like leaves. Nim says, we don't call it New York style pizza here, because she's in New York. We just call it pizza, like we call buffalo wings just wings. Guess where I'm from, says Tom. Chris says, I like a salad with bacon and no salad and more bacon. Yes. Sometimes on a hot day, it's nice to have a salad, because the thing is, the way I eat food is I eat food for the experience of eating it, which is why I've got a bit fat, because I've been eating a lot. Ever since I stopped smoking, I've been eating everything that moves. And sometimes, if I just want to have a big fat eating experience, but if I just need to not put the weight on, I can have a salad, because then you get lots of crunchies, but you don't put on like 35 stone. So, because it all just goes, well, by the time you're woken up, it's all just dissolved away into wee or something. It's great. Anyway, let's do some work. So we have, let's have a look. Building your Redemptor Dreadnought. Let's get this done. This is from the Warhammer Conquest part work. Like I said, I'm trying to clear space in my spare room where all the Warhammer Conquest things are piling up. Slowly but slowly. And I need to get these all done and out of the way, just so I can put them either on my display cabinet shelf or in my Crusader case or my skirmish case. A lot of the figures I've done in a skirmish case out of the way, so that's kind of handy for storage. So we need to start off by building the whatever you want to call the big Gatling gun. It doesn't tell me, so I can't tell you what it's called. For this we need 6, 7 and 8. So let's get this done. Now, as always, I'm going to be using the industrial size Citadel nippers for the heavy duty stuff, and then I have got my God hands just for any little tiny clean-up bits. Just Django says, for bench, I'm getting a panel lining and decal work done on the real grade unicorn, but I'm not feeling anything for food, so I don't have to reapply an antiperspirant. Works wonders for model building on my hands. You could just wear gloves. There is that. If you're not wanting to get things finger jam and hand jam, just wear gloves. Get some disposable gloves. I've got a box on. I had to get some more, so I've got some purple ones this time. I'm not opening them yet. I don't know how purple they are. John Kenwood is in. Welcome, John. He's just moved from Essex to Cornwall. So you've gone from, ooh, I need to talk like that, and now you're like, all right, my babber. I'm living in Cornwall now. There you go. There's lovely. There's lovely. I always joke about my nephews. Hang on, what part's that? That is 6, and that is 7. Yeah, my nephews, because my brother sounds like me. My sister-in-law comes from Hull, so has a Hull accent, but they both live in Chelmsford, or in and around Chelmsford. And they've got 3 boys, and of course the 3 boys have lived their entire life in Chelmsford. So it never occurred to us that when they had 3 boys, then when we first heard the boys talk, it never occurred to us that they'd have anything other than my brother's accent or my sister's accent, or a hybrid of both. But no, the first thing I heard one of my nephews say was basically, "Daddy, I need a knife." And I'm like, what was that? They were having dinner and he needed a knife to eat his dinner. It's like, oh, wait a minute, where did that come from? What? That doesn't sound like anybody we know. It's brilliant. It's hilarious. Okay, so we've got these 2 parts and we need the little Gatlingy bit on the end. Now, if anybody's familiar with the Redemptor Dreadnought, do tell me what these weapons are called. Normally in the actual kit it will give you all the descriptions, but this is just the Conquest thing. So if you don't know what Warhammer Conquest is, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, Warhammer Conquest is a part work by Hachette. Part work being you receive 4 magazines each month, and each of them come with bits of kit to build. Basically, it's a 2-year part work where you can build up an entire Imperial Allied Space Marine army. Unfortunately, sadly, the painting guide of the magazine, if you're not used to it, tells you how to paint them as Ultramarines. Oh well. But you can paint them as something else if you want. You get to build an entire Space Marine force, including vehicles, Space Marines, named characters and everything else. And at the same time, you also get to build an entire Death Guard force, including, Death Guard, champions, lots and lots and lots and lots of Poxwalkers, vehicles. And you also get lots of scenery items. You get some... what do you get now? You get all kinds of bits and bobs, and you get the set that's all the sort of the junkyard cranes and stuff. You get all that. You get all the big tubes. You get the big scenery tubes and big circular thing. Loads of stuff. And if you do the premium subscription, you also get some real nice game boards, thick card game boards, like you get in the thick boards that you actually get in some of the gaming packs, like Silver Tower and stuff like that. Those big thick card game boards. You get that, and you get lots of dices and things and tokens and all kinds of bits and bobs, and individual stat cards for your characters. And it's basically a way to get about, somebody worked it out, it's about £1,000 worth of stuff, almost 1,100 quid worth of stuff for about 700 quid, 700 quid. Which, when you think about it, it's a pretty good deal. Even if you think to yourself, well, I don't want a Death Guard army, I just want 1 million Space Marines, so why would I do it? There's a lack of imagination there. What you do is, you're saving it's about 460 quid you save from buying all the models individually. You get paints and stuff as well. You save about 460 quid on the cost of everything. And at the end of it, if you only want the Death Guard army or the Space Marine army, or one of them, you can sell the other, paint it up and sell it. Make some money back. And you'll still have an army at the end of it that cost you less than if you bought all the bits individually. Now I went a bit close here with the Games Workshop nippers, and they've mangled the plastic a bit. Yeah, always try and leave a bit of nub with the Games Workshop nippers because they're not exactly delicate. But if you're just starting out and you've never played Warhammer before, it's not a bad setup. It's it'll give you all you need. It'll give 2 opposing armies, and you can start playing with a friend. Give you the terrain and stuff. It's for the fact you're saving 500 quid, you could even just get it, paint it, and sell it, and still make money back. So there you go. But that's what we're working on right now. Like I said, I'm not working on my army at the moment. My army's just taking a back seat for now, because right now I'm in the middle of doing the. Oh, I forgot to show you. I'm in the middle of doing the Master Grade Sazabi for George. These are all the parts left of the Sazabi that I need to sand and denub. I'll be doing these on Monday on a little live stream. Not a long live stream, so it won't take long. So I'll get a little live stream going for patrons on Monday. That's all that's left on the Sazabi, and then I can start the actual build, so that'll be next week. So, building and filming for the Sazabi will actually start next week. Yay, finally! That's on, and then once that's done, I've got the perfect grade Millennium Falcon to do. So the Warhammer Conquest stuff has kind of got stabbage. There we go. Oh, caught me right on the edge. Look at that. How long have we been going? 28 minutes, and I've got Stabbity. Look at that. Stabbity. Haha. Ow. 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 Right. Let me get a plaster. Is it going to bleed much? Stabbity, yeah. Have I got a plaster line? I had a plaster line around just in case, because for obvious reasons. Have I got it here? There we go. I can't imagine why I would have a plaster ready and available to hand. Teaming Ep says Burke. Yes. Talking of that, we all have this. Tom Rickliff says it there. Superglue time. I actually read up about this. We all know the common knowledge that if you make a little stabbity, you can simply plop some superglue into the wound, and it will seal it up, stop it bleeding, allow it to clot, and let you crack on with your day. However, I did some reading up, because I've always thought that myself. And our good friend Tony over at Helgen35, who was a medic, says the same thing. The army have used it for years. However, what I didn't know is that there's actually a different grade of superglue specifically for that purpose. So, apparently, if you use regular superglue like we use, it might not do you any favours, because I was reading some words written on the internet, but it's a fresh blade, that's why it digged, you see. Reading some words on the internet by medical types, and they were saying that they often come across people who've used superglue in a wound, but not medical superglue, but normal, practical household superglue. And what it sometimes does is, although it seals off the wound and makes everybody happy, Dad says, "Thunder here, Fox, it's on its way to you." Oh, yes. Although it seals the wound, it can go into the wound, but it's not designed to break down like medical superglue. And it can fuse with blood cells and platelets and the little fibrous bits and bobs, and it can just make a shard of superglue and blood. And they say what it can do is, if it's just regular superglue, it can become this pointy shard that then, just like a splinter, buries itself into the skin. And this doctor was saying it's not very often it happens, but he has had cases where he's had to actually open up a wound to remove this basically piece of glass, effectively, because the blood and the platelets and things mixed with the super glue, and it becomes kind of sharp and pointy and quite indestructible. So it was saying if you're going to use super glue, it needs to be medical super glue. I didn't know any of that. So yeah, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I've done it before in the past with no problems, but knowing that it can actually make things worse, maybe not, eh? I'll just stick a plaster on and suffer the embarrassment. So there you go, a bit of stability within the first half hour. Your money's been worth it. You've already made your money back. There you go. Right, so now I'm trying to be careful with this Redemptor Dreadnought, because if it was just a bog standard Dreadnought, what I would intend on doing is doing lots of battle damage on it. So I wouldn't be being careful right now. I'd be like hacking away at these nubs, and I wouldn't be worrying if I've made little dings and dints. However, if you know the lore, Redemptor Dreadnoughts, it's the new Dreadnought pattern that's kind of just been made. With the release of the Primaris Space Marines, the Primaris Marines, and all the fluff that goes with them, the Dreadnought is the new Dreadnought, that's the pattern that's been either discovered or developed, which is a bit heretical, but it's the new one. So they've not been around that long. Whereas, you know, regular Dreadnoughts can have been around for hundreds, if not, 1,000 years. These ones, the Redemptors, are new, so they'll only be, a few years old. So I don't really want to do a massive heavy weathering job on this. I'll give it some chipping and stuff because it's been in battle. But it's not a venerable Dreadnought. It's not been around for 1,000 years in battle, so I don't want to make it too battered. I'm going to be reasonably careful. It's the first time I've stabbed that hand. Normally it's this hand that gets the stability. But if you don't do some stability at some point, you're just not doing it right. Don't you agree, Guthorm? Yes, Guthorm agrees. But not had any thunder here yet, Dad. So I'll get these bits sanded. Then we'll have a look at the chat. So yeah, anyway, the Sazabi, the actual proper building of the Sazabi will be starting this week. When I've got all the bits sanded. Then once that's done, hopefully it won't take too long. Then it'll be time to crack on with the Perfect Grey Millennium Falcon. And again, hopefully that won't take too long. And once that's done, I'm kind of free then, I think. So what I'm going to do then is dive back into the Warhammer Conquest, because I've only done episodes up to I think issue 15. The rest haven't been filmed. So yeah, I'm slacking a bit there. They're a bit behind. I want to get them done, so we might get back onto those ASAP. But I also need to get back into building things to sell them, because money is really tight at the minute. As you know, I do this for a living, and I live off the income that my beautiful patrons give to me and that I make off YouTube. Money is a bit tight right now, and because I've always built and sold models, but I've not done any for the last year, because the last year has been stuff that I haven't been able to sell, which is a bit of a pain. I'm going to actually put these together before I finish sanding these, because I want to get them nice and rounded and smooth. So let's just get these stuck together first. Whenever you're doing a tube, any kind of tubular object or anything that's got two sides, it's worth putting them together first. And leaving nubs and sand, like these two bits here. I've just realised now, these two bits here, if I sand that one separately and keep going, eventually I'll have it all sanded, but they might be at different heights because I've sanded them different amounts. So what it's going to be better to do is actually glue this, get it together, and then remove any nubs. There's only that one there, and that one there. So what I'm going to do is time to do some gluing. Now we will have a seam line down the middle, but that's where your extra thin comes in. So I've got my Tamiya extra thin. I'm going to run it down the middle here. Carelessly, I don't need to be too careful with it. If you've seen this before, you know what I'm doing. But to avoid having to do any filling later on, I've got them ever so slightly apart. I'm going to run the glue down the gap. I'm going to push them together a bit more. And we're just going to, it's a very big panel gap, very big gap. It might actually be designed to be there, I think. The way they've left such a massive gap, I'm kind of thinking it's supposed to be there for some of these bits. It just looks like it is. Gonna run it in there and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze if you please. For those, I kind of fumbled through all that, so let me explain properly. If you've not seen this before, when you get a very, very tiny gap like that, like on a cylindrical or tubular object like a weapon or anything that comes in two halves, obviously you can go ahead and use fillers and things to get rid of little seam lines like that. But you can save yourself the hassle if you've got an extra thin cement, like to me extra thin, a welding cement. You can run it into the gap, squeeze the two halves together after a few seconds. The cement works by melting the plastic. It softens and melts the plastic together and welds two pieces together. So what it's doing is it's melting the plastic. I'm then squeezing them together, the two halves, and the plastic is bubbling out, oozing out of the gap and bubbling up above the surface. Eventually the glue will dry. There we go, squeeze. The glue will dry. There'll be a bead of, where there was glue and plastic now, just a bead of polystyrene sticking out where there used to be a recess. There's now a little raised bit, and all you do is you go back in and sand that back once it's fully dried, and you end up with no gap and no seam, and you've not had to use any fillers or any of that nonsense. You don't always have to use fillers when there are gaps. It's not a mandatory requirement. Model making is sometimes about finding the easiest and quickest way to do something. Not get out of doing something. Not be lazy. It's not being lazy. It's just thinking, well, why spend an hour delicately filling a tiny, tiny little gap like that when I can use the model's own plastic to fill that gap? Now, it doesn't work with things like thick Revell contactor glue or regular Tamiya cement or anything like that. You have to use a welding cement that melts the plastic like Tamiya extra thin. Other cements that do the same thing are available, of course. And it might not work for every kind of gap. Like there's a big gap at the back here where the two sides of this are. This may not sand away. I know I'm quite far away with the camera, but this may not fill away, so I might have to go back with some sprue glue or something later on for that. So that's those two glued together. So I'll leave it now. I'm not finished sanding off all the nubs on that, but we'll come back to that later. I will just glue the, I will just put the little bit on the ends. So let me just sand these ends down here. Now you're not going to see these bits, I don't think, but I'll sand them anyway. Then we shall have a look at the chat. See what Chattings is doing. So how is everyone? I hope you're all well. Hope you're all doing fine and dandy. As I say, it's been I've had a busy week this week. A lot of this week, I've not been able to get to the bench as much as I'd like, but I have been working on the Sazabi, getting it all trimmed down and cleaned up and ready for buildy. So just slot in there. Yeah, it's got there's like a little key and slot on there, so that's fine. I can just get some glue in there. Diddly bomb, diddly bomb, diddly bomb. Keyhole, slot. There you go. Plink, that is now in and nice. Touch of glue, done. That's that gun done. Do let me know if my head keeps coming into shot, by the way, because I don't know. So a quick look at the chat. Oh yes, that's the other thing. I got an email from Hachette yesterday saying that there has been a delay getting out the Warhammer Conquest, the next issue, which is issues, I don't know which ones they are. So if you're in the UK, there is a bit of a delay. I think they're going to try and get them to us this coming week as quickly as they can. Everybody, Paul at Team Inept, being ever so helpful, says, cure the stabity with lemon juice and salt. Yes. Australia has just gotten caught up with where you're on the painting videos with the current delivery. Awesome. because you can now get Warhammer Conquest in Australia. I think there is a link below this video to if you want to subscribe to Warhammer Conquest, by the way, if you want to subscribe to this yourself. Not the videos, I mean the actual part work series. Blood for the Blood God, says Tyrone. Welcome, Tyrone. Into Zone 88 says Corn. Thunder here. Oh no, Dad said we've not had that thunder, by the way, Dad. Rain on the South Coast, says John Kenwood. Candygram says, I got interested in model building. YouTube channel, starting with Helgen35. Hope he's doing okay. Hope to see future videos from him. Helgen35, my very good friend Tony, is doing absolutely fine. I apologise, I got the sniffles. He's doing absolutely fine. He's just been super, super busy with work and, you know, everyday real life. That's why he's fallen off the radar a bit in the last year or two. He's just had a lot. He's just been really busy in his job, and he's been really busy at home doing, you know, personal life stuff. So he's fine. He's fine. He's a good lad. There's nothing bad at all. He's just not had time. Life takes priority, really. Let's have a look. Talking about super glue, Chris. I don't know if you can hear that. That's my local ice cream man doing the rounds, and he's doing his current piece of music. The ice cream van plays is the music from Bridge Over the River Kwai. You know, the Colonel Boat, whatever that march is. It's the same ice cream man that used to have Lily Marlene as his ice cream selling tune on his van, which is the World War II German trooper song about a prostitute, which is great for a children's ice cream van. Where was I? Yeah, Chris at Gross Model says about super glue. I think for the small amount we might use it, it'll be fine. If you have a 6-inch slash, I'd go to a doctor. Yeah, I mean, if you have a proper deep wound. I mean, that probably would have been fine with a touch of super glue just to seal it up, but I read about shards. I don't like the word shard and inside the body. Those are two phrases I don't want together, really. Fluffy Gut says also you will trap germs in the wound. Yes, you want the wound to be able to clean out and breathe. The other thing I said that he read as well in this thing the doctor was saying was, especially with model making, because it was a thing about model making. He said also when modelers are using a knife, they've probably been sanding. And what he tends to find is when he does get these big chunks of like super glue and stuff congealed together that he has to remove, they tend to have like plastic dust and little shards of plastic because they've been sanding and cutting. And again, they don't do your body any favours. Tom Rickliff said, if I got a good cut, I doubt super glue would be the first thought. Yes, it's like that's just like a paper cut, really. Paper towel and electrical tape, says James Purcell. John Kenwood says we're on the beach till Friday, 10 o'clock, no wind. Stick your thumb in your gob and suck. I did. Oh, sulk, he says. That says stick your thumb in your gob and sulk. I nearly did a sulk. Pour ISO on cuts, isopropyl alcohol, and watch all the new swear words you will invent. I can imagine I will come up with a few. It's like when you're a kid and you used to get like a little graze, and you know, your mum would like get a piece of cotton wool, fluffy cotton wool, and she'd get some Dettol on it. If you're in the UK, she'd get some Dettol on it and she'd rub it on it to antiseptic to clean the wound. And when I got some Dettol a few months ago to clean some paint off some minis, the smell of the Dettol took me straight back to being a small child, and Mama Fox just like rubbing Dettol on her graze. It's like so painful, but yet the smell was so evocative. Gaz Vickers is in. Guten Tag, mein Herr. Welcome. Willkommen. Is that a custom sanding stick, says John Kenwood. No, they are the Ultimate Modelling Products sanding sticks. I got some more. These are the squishy grey ones. I now can tell you they are 220 grit because it says it on the packet. It doesn't say it on the stick. This is also an Ultimate one, but this is the, I think it's 180 grit. It's a lot rougher than that. That's like a rough one. That's like a medium one. But I like to use the Ultimate Modelling Products sticks. And thinny sticks and sponges. Which Gaz then explains. John Kenwood says something, but it moved. Hang on. Oh, it moved. Wow. That just... oh yeah, John Kenwood says, I'd done the original Blood Bowl stuff 30 years back. Blood Bowl is back, man. Let's have a look. Dave says, I think he's working on the new Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought squad post on the Boom Hut. John Kenwood likes the Death Guard Poxwalker the best. The thing with Death Guard is they are brilliant models, but I'll tell you what, they're a pain in the bum to actually build. And then, well, to build, because they've got all the spiky bits. You end up with like little stabby marks all over your hands, because all the spikes and horns. Aviad Madar is in. Welcome, Aviad. It's been a while. David Sanderson is in. Hi all. Sorry I'm late. I had to deal with a wasp's nest. As long as you dealt with it with a flamethrower, you're absolutely fine. Ah, Fluffy Gut says, it's not been my best week. My giant African land snail passed away at the age of 12, grand age of 12. Oh, I'd love a grand. I love snails. I love snails and things like that, so. A giant African land snail, that'd be fantastic. I'd love one of those as a pet. 12 years old, that's old, that is. That's amazing. John C says, first time tuning in, love your commentary. Thank you very much. I just talked rubbish for 3 hours. Let's have a look. Welcome though, you're more than welcome. Aviad Madar says, Dad, I've spilled extra thin cement all over yesterday. When are we getting that Dad's Amazing Gizmos Kickstarter? Vasily says, 12-year-old snail, WTF. Yeah, land snails are like this big, Vasily. African land snails like that big. The shell, they're massive. But David Butcher, that model, says, Fox, are you painting them ultramarine blue or are you painting them Dad's Fist is red? No, I'm following the magazine for lots of them. This I'll do a proper paint job on. But for some of the sort of minion troops, I'm following the magazine for beginners who don't even know how to paint. So I am stuck doing ultramarines, I'm afraid. My choice would not be to paint them ultramarines. And once I've painted everything, I may strip them all off and repaint them. But yes, because I'm following the magazine for some of the models, I have to paint them ultramarine styles. Let's have a look. People want about Dad's... I'll say that again with words. People are talking about Dad's anti-spillage devices. More Draco09 says, get the iodine on it and hear the world pause. Yes. Eon's Car says, hello Fox, how are you doing? I'm fine, thank you very much. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You've missed Stabberty. I did Stabberty not a little while ago. Quanaman, because I can't pronounce his last name. I always say Char has a nipple, and I can't decide if this counts as an adult Rudy's or me being anatomically imprecise. Char Aznable, I think, is the... But is it Aznable or Aznable? I never know. I just say Aznable. It's based on apparently Charles Aznavour, who was a French actor-singer. It's based on that, Charles Aznavour. Heresy, there is only ultramarine, says David Butcher, that model. If I was painting these myself, I'd do them as... If I was going to paint Space Marines... Well, I was going to say I'd do them as space puppies, like Space Wolves, but you haven't got all the stuff on the chests, and so you can't really... It's the only problem with some of the factions, some of the chapters. It's all great saying, I want to paint my Space Marines to look like this chapter, but some of them require specific... Hello. What's going on here? Step 2. This. As if we've already built that bit. Am I missing a page? I am missing a page. Oh, it's there. Hello. Not paying attention. Not paying attention. Idiot Fox. Complete idiot. So we need parts 1 and 2. 1. There's 2. And piece 1 is that one. It's exhaust. It's not a complicated kit, this one. Sadly, a lot of people have complained about these newer kits because they are mono pose. You've not got a lot of posing options with these. They are designed to be just built quickly and posed in one way. So I can see the argument there, to be honest. I know the old dreadnoughts, you could pose them with the legs however you want and stuff like that. But these, you've got to basically build them as it says in the instructions. So I can see why that would be a bit of a grumble. Me, I'm not fussed. That is a massive chunk of plastic. That would not get my... That will just destroy my god hands. That there. Part 1 and also part 2. Ja, das ist richtig. Been watching with my kids but not logged on, says George. Welcome, George. I was just about to say, says Speed, that sounds like Charles Aznavour. Yes, apparently when they came up with the name of the antagonist in Mobile Suit Gundam all those years ago, Char's name was basically influence based on Charles Aznavour. I can't remember. Is it Charles Aznavour that was the one that did the song like "Thank Heaven for Little Girls"? They grow up in the most delightful ways. Was that him or was that somebody else? I can't remember. I don't know. I'm not up on my French singers. I don't know my French singers that well. A very famous French singer, anyway. Now, I'm going to use my God hands on these, but using God hands, don't use the tips. Never cut with the tip if you can avoid it. Save myself a bit of sandy. Only a bit of sandy. I still have some to do. What's chat doing? Eon's Car says I'm a Blood Angels and Space Wolf guy myself. Yeah, if I was doing my own forces, if I was doing my own army and not doing the Xeon one, I'd probably just do Space Wolves, but because I think they look mint. But this bog standard Space Marines don't come with the relevant bits. You have to buy the extra stuff, like the emblems on the chest, the Aquillas and the gems and things like that. So it's like, I know you can just paint any old Space Marine and just in the right colours and call it a Space Wolf, but it's not the same, is it? But with these guys, yeah, I'm following the magazine. Oh, that's nasty. Look at this. Massive nubs, but I'm not getting my... Oh, dear. Right, I think it might be time to get the vintage Tamiya nippers out for these. If I go anywhere near these with the Citadel ones, they'll just be gouged out. So if I go with the Tamiya ones, work my way in a bit. What nasty nub work that is. Tree work. Ping! I nearly went in my enormous cup of tea, nearly. What, I don't even know what I was talking about now. What was I talking about? No idea. Yeah, so I don't know actually what colour I would paint my own personal Space Marine army. The army I'm doing myself is Principality of Xeon. So the Space Marines I've built for my Xeon army at the moment are all coloured in, like I've coloured them with felt tips. They're all painted like Zaku's, as in shades of green. These nippers might be too old and wobbly now for delicate work. So yeah, they're all painted in shades of green because they're supposed to be painted like Zaku's. And they've got Xeon symbols all over the pauldrons, which is kind of cool. But doing my own stuff, I'd probably do them... I'd quite fancy doing Space Wolves. I do like the colours. Ooh. Walter, thank you very much for that. Little bit of super chat going through there. That's what a super chat looks like, by the way. Fox, you mentioned allies with Astra Militarum. Can you explain how to include in my army? I'm curious about detachments of allies and who the best ally is. The way it basically works, let me see if I can find... 1 second. Let me see if I can find... hang on. Let me see if I have some cards. I have some... Now, these are obviously specific to Conquest, but does this actually have any... There we go. Okay. Hang on. When you get your... What's the wrong ones? There we go. When you... With a normal army, you'll have a codex. So if you've got, say, Space Marines, you will have bought or you'll purchased and downloaded the Space Marines Codex. And the Codex basically is the big book that tells you all the stats and things for the particular units that you're playing with. Get confused now with these. You also, when you read the instructions, proper Games Workshop instructions, you will see on the back page of the instructions, there'll be a data sheet. And the data sheet is basically this. I'll zoom in for you. Data sheet. Zooming in. I don't know if you'll be able to read this. Let me just see if I can get it on screen first of all. Make sure it's lined up. There's that. Put that there. Put that there. There we go. So hopefully this is in focus for you. Let me just double check. That might be the best the focus can get. But basically, yes, whenever you read the instructions, or when you if you have the codex, which you'll need the codex anyway if you're playing the units. The codex, for example, Space Marines, well, if you've got the... Okay, this is the best way to do it. If you've got the Astra Militarum Codex, that covers everything except Space Marines. That covers everything from vehicles, it might be all your tanks, your Lehman Russ tanks, your Valkyries, other vehicles, and any Astra Militarum forces. But the way it basically works is that with Astra Militarum, which is the Imperial Guard, basically it has the most options for other forces becoming allies. So, for example, with your Astra Militarum force, you can ally them with Space Marines because they're part of the same thing. The way it basically works is you have, on your data sheet, you have faction keywords and keywords. Now, keywords, in this case, this is a Space Marine Gravis Armor Captain. Keywords are Character, Infantry, Mark 10, Gravis, Primaris, and Captain. Now, these relate to the specific model. So these are keywords for that specific model. What you're looking at is faction keywords. So, for example, this Gravis Armor Space Marine Primaris Captain has the faction keywords Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Ultramarines. And it's quite simple the way it works. All it means is, if you've got a model, say you buy the Lehman Russ battle tank, then on the Lehman Russ battle tank, it will say, for example, faction keywords Imperium. All it means is, if you've got two models and they both share the same faction keywords, so if this one has Imperium, if a Lehman Russ battle tank says Imperium, or a group of Death Corps of Krieg will have various other ones, but it'll also say Imperium. Anything that has the word Imperium, they can be teamed up together. You can field them as an overall unit. So as long as all the models you've bought, for example, if you're doing an Astra Militarum, as long as they all have the keyword Imperium, then they can all go together. They're all Imperial forces. With Space Marines, for example, with this guy, as long as whatever model has the word Imperium, but also has Adeptus Astartes or Ultramarines, you can field him with any Space Marine unit. So Adeptus Astartes, those are Space Marines. He can be paired with any Space Marine unit, and he can be paired with anybody who's got the Ultramarines keyword as well. So it's just this faction keywords. You just need to make sure that whatever models you have, it has Imperium. Now, if it says Astra Militarum on the box, it's going to be fine because that's all Imperial Guard. So Astra Militarum, it will say for Imperial Guard troops, for Lehman Russ battle tanks, for Chimera battle tanks, for Rhinos, for some of the air vehicles, the human air vehicles. Basically, it's just the bog standard human troops. It will say Astra Militarum all over the box. You know they're going to be fine. But if you're not sure, have a look online. As long as they, in the case of Astra Militarum, have the keyword Imperium. So if I've got an Imperial Knight, for example, it will have some other keywords, but it will have the keyword Imperium, and that's how I know I can play my Imperial Knight with my Lehman Russ battle tank, my Death Corps of Krieg dudes, and this Captain in Gravis Armor, because they're all on the side of the Imperium. With Chaos, say with Death Guard, that's not Death Guard. With Death Guard, for example, it does the same thing for the other guys as well. So that's there. So, for example, with Death Guard, it might say faction keywords for the Malignant Plague Caster might be Chaos, Nurgle, Heretic Astartes, Death Guard. So Chaos, because it's a troop that's aligned with Chaos, so any other force that has Chaos as a keyword it can fight with alongside. Anybody that fights for the Chaos God Nurgle, if it's got the keyword Nurgle, it can fight alongside them. Heretic Astartes, these are the Space Marines that broke off in the Horus Heresy and went over to the side of Chaos and are no longer loyalist. This guy can fight alongside anybody who has the keyword Heretic Astartes. And Death Guard, of course, is a specific vectorum of the Death Guard, of the Chaos Death Guard. Start that again. A specific vectorum of the Chaos Space Marines, the Death Guard. It can fight along anybody. So it's that faction keyword. That's all it needs to be. Is that needs to match. It's actually quite simple. And what you need to do, if you're building an Astra Militarum army, I would recommend 2 books. Let me just try and get this back in the box. Nothing really. He's on a bit of a ramble. I am. can't get the book out to show you because it's massive, but the Codex for Astra Militarum actually includes in the back all the forces and all the data sheets for all the different models that come under Astra Militarum. So you can go through that. You'll need that book anyway to know how to play Imperial, to how to play Astra Militarum. And it does have detachment diagrams so you can figure out how to build a full army if you want to get a massive army. But you would need the Codex for Astra Militarum. That will show you all the other models that just count as Imperial Guard. And then if you look at Space Marines, they have their own codex. If you look at Imperial Knights, they have their own codex. And I think that's the only 3 codices you need for Imperial. Oh, there's also, if you go for anything off Forge World, like Death Corps of Krieg, you have to use the Forge World codex that is also for things like Death Corps of Krieg and some of the Forge World Imperial vehicles. So yeah, you get all that in the book. But if you're not sure, if you know you're going to build an army of a particular faction, get the codex, and that will list all the models you can possibly get that are allied to that. Tyrone says, Fox, that's the easy to build kit of the Redemptor Dreadnought, and you can get a full-on kit of the Redemptor Dreadnought, which is more posable and comes with more weapons. I didn't know that. That is awesome. This is just the one that comes with the Conquest thing. How much have I missed, says Beyond Hope. Fox cut his finger off and drank tea so far, and I've glued 2 things together. Yes. Let's have a look. Fox Ramble, I can't believe that would happen. Death to the False Emperor, says George. George is building some Death Guard at the minute. So I don't need a whole detachment to add an ally. I can just use one in my command squad for his attributes and be golden. Basically, yeah, when you play a game, a lot of the kits you buy will be like command squads. Like if you get the Imperial Guard basic squad, it's like 10 guys. You might get 10 guys and a commissar. That's a simple basic squad. And in the codex, it will tell you how you can build those up into full massive armies, but you don't have to. You can just play with that squad. When you play a game, you and your opponent agree the points value of your army. And the points or the power, there's 2 ways of doing it. And in traditional way, it's let's have a game and we'll have 1,000-point armies. And it just means you can fill out however you want, but each model has a points value and you've only got 1,000 points if you play 1,000 points game. So, for example, if I don't know what the points value for this is, but let's say it was 100, you might have 10 of these, or it might be 250, in which case you have 4. And you can fill that out however you want, but you typically would have an HQ choice, like a command, and then some bog standard troops and maybe a vehicle. Depends how you want to do it. You can be as flexible as you want. But that's really getting down to gameplay there and then at that point, which is, it's what you decide with your opponent. You decide how many points you're going to have. And that's where the fun comes in, because you might say, right, let's have a game. We'll say 1,000 points, but you don't agree on what troops you're going to field. And it might be that you field 1,000 points with the Imperial Guard, which is brilliant. Just dudes with las guns, cardboard armor and las guns. And the other guy fields like 2 Imperial Knights, in which case, yeah, you're screwed. Ain't going nowhere. But that's where the fun comes in, because you don't necessarily agree in advance what you're going to put on the table, just how many points worth. Oh, there is the power level as well, but I've not got my head around that yet. These are really gnarly to get. I'm going to have to use the tip of the nippers here, and I don't like doing that. But there's no way for me to get them in there. Do not like these nubs. Fox, don't forget chapter approved. I will be honest, I still haven't got my head around what exactly that is. Because I will be honest, I've not played a game yet. I'm not a big expert on playing the game. And I intend to. I've got around to actually building my army big enough. But, yeah, I kind of read those things about chapter 2, but I've never really paid attention to what it actually is. So, yeah, I don't really know that much about what that is. I think that's so you can go beyond the preset stuff and make your own armies within certain limitations, if I remember that's what it is. I think chapter approved is saying, here's the restrictions, but go for it and do what you want. Oops. That's going to be an exhaust anyway. My Games Workshop manager had a 2,000 point army with only 6 units. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why the pricing for Games Workshop models is weird. Because it's based on, the simple way to put it is based on the points value. So, for example, an Imperial Guardsman who is a inexperienced conscript with cardboard armour and a flash bulb, basically, a torch for a weapon, a flashlight as Americans would call it. He can't do a lot of damage by himself. He's going to die straight away on his own, most likely. He's only worth, like, 2 or 3 points. He's not going to take us. So you could, if you have a 1,000-point army, you could have, 600 or 700 of those quite nicely, or however many points. I won't have the right point value, but he might be like 2 points, in which case you can have 500 of them on the table. And a force of 500 might be quite significant against an enemy. Whereas an Imperial Knight that can do massive damage and has a lot of health and so on and so on, that might be 450 points, depending on what kind of knight you've got. And it's all about balancing. So the little feeble weak unit isn't going to cost a lot of points because it can't do anything on its own. It's a bit rubbish. Whereas a big massive, Imperial Knight or Baneblade tank or what have you is going to have a lot of points. Now the difficulty you have there is that Games Workshop know that in most armies, unless you tend to play the kind of what's going to be Apocalypse now, where you have like massive 5,000-10,000 point armies, 15,000 point armies that are going to cost you an arm and a leg. Most people just tend to field 1,000 to 2,000 point armies, maybe 3 at the most. Most people, not everybody, but a lot of people just do the basics. And therefore they might have maybe 1 Imperial Knight or 2 Imperial Knights, or, whatever the equivalent expensive kits are for their army. Whereas they might have a whole mess of the bog standard grunt troops like Imperial Guard. They won't really need to buy a lot of Imperial Knights because they might not play them. And that's why Imperial Knight kits cost 80 quid and 10 Imperial Guard guys cost you 25. Because it's how expensive they are in the game. They know that most people aren't going to buy a lot of, say, the Imperial Knight kits. So they won't charge it. They'll have to charge more because they know they'll sell less. Now, an Imperial Knight kit is a lot less complex than, say, the new Primaris Repulsor, which has got a lot more parts. There's probably more parts in a Chaos Rhino than there are in the Imperial Knight. But because it has a high points value, you're probably only going to buy 1 or 2 for your army because you won't have a chance to play more than that. So that's how they work out the pricing. And that's why, weirdly, sometimes a small, uncomplicated kit can be quite expensive. But conversely, sometimes a really big kit with lots of parts that you think will cost a lot because it's a really complicated, massive plastic kit actually can be quite cheap. So it does work in your favour sometimes. Not always, but it can do. Fox chapter approved. It's all the F and Qs and points changes for units in one book. Oh, that's right. It's more the addendum and rule fixes that have been done since the codex has been released. Oh yes, I forgot about that. Like I say, because I've focused on the building and painting and not so much the playing yet, I haven't really looked into the actual how to play. Fluffy Gut says, hey, one of my Imperial troopers managed to shoot Mortarion and killed him here, and he had a 2 HP left. Oh, sorry, 1 HP left. Well, yeah, if the bad guy has got like 1 HP left, then yeah, a cardboard trooper with his torchlight, his flashlight, might be able to take him out. It's not impossible. But again, it's the same reason why, for example, like I said, I've got, a pack of Imperial Guard command squad, which is a commissar and a sergeant and 3 or 4 bog standard Imperial Guard dudes, 25 quid. I've also got a kit of Sly Marbo. It's a resin kit, so that's a bit different. But even if you forget, even it's resin, that's, I think, 25 quid for 1 figure. But that's because Sly Marbo is kind of a one-man army. So he's Imperial Guardsman, but he's like a one-man army. So he kind of commands a high price. Because you can only have 1 of him, and you can't have like more than 1 of him. He's a named character. You can only field 1, so you're not going to buy 5 of him. So they charge more. But he is resin as well, so there you go. Is it me or did the stream stop? Please don't tell me the stream has stopped. Back now. It's just you, Dad. It's a slippery slope, this points game. My army of Nagash started at 2,000 points, is now on 6,000 points and a pain to transport anywhere, says Dave. Yeah. I'm not showing any drop frames. It could have been a YouTube problem, maybe. Nothing at my end anyway, thankfully. Yay. None of that nonsense again. I'm not enjoying the nubs on here. I would have built this thing by now. Well, I've been talking a lot as well, let's be honest. Battle Script is a great website for helping you build an army list before you waste time and money on anything, says Fluffy Guts. There is a sort of battle thing on for Warhammer 40k on the Games Workshop site, but it's kind of pants. It's not very good. You know, an army builder thing. I tried Battlescribe. I think that's what you're talking about, Battlescribe. I did download and try Battlescribe, but it didn't really work very well. I could probably have to get it back again at some other point. It was it kind of worked, but I couldn't export it from my PC to my iPad. I followed. It said how to export your army lists to another device, and it totally didn't work. Then again, I am the most ignorant when it comes to computers. More Draka says, sounds like my Tyranid army is now over 8,000 points, mostly on grunts. I don't actually know how many points my final Imperial army would be. I've not really decided what it's made. It's just kind of, basically I just did the, let's buy the kits that I like, that look cool, and sort it all out later. So right now I've got like a squad of Imperial Guard, 10 Imperial Guard dudes. I've got 10 Deathgora Krieg that I've not made yet. I've got a Lehman Russ. I've got a Chimera. I've got a Valkyrie that I haven't made yet. I will have... What else have I got? Let's have a look in the cabinet that I can see. I've got a Hydra. And a Taurox Prime. I've got a squad of... I think I've got about 20 Scions at the moment. So I'm kind of... And I will have eventually 3 Imperial Knights. I'm going to be all over the damn place. Kind of making it up as I go along. Dave says, Vox, the seam line remover is safer than that knife and it works treat on that Conquest plastic. Yep, I know. But I'm just trying to... These are big, thick nubs. Seam line remover wouldn't have got rid of those. I need to get rid of them first. It does work quite well. But that's a file anyway, not a knife. You'll be glad to know. I'm in no danger. Anyway, if I didn't use a knife as much as possible, then you'd all miss out on Stabatine. You'd all be sad. So, yeah. It's weird plastic though, this stuff. It's very weird plastic. It's kind of softer yet crisper. Softer yet more brittle. It's kind of more explodey. I don't quite understand it, really. My brain doesn't quite parse it very well. My Imperial Guard army is 3,413 as I cut it down a bit, says Fluffy Guts. I recently found an original Imperial Assassin and painted white metal figure from many years back, says John Kenwood. Cool, probably worth a bit. My very good friend Tony over at Helgen35 says to me, I've got some Imperial Guard dudes, I'll send them over, you can have them if you want. I've painted them like 20 years ago. Okay, no problem. Brilliant, thanks. He sends me these figures. It's a squad of metal Cassakins. You know, like and it's like, these are cool, what are they? I looked them up and it's like, oh, they're actually really rare and quite valuable now. I'm like, dude, you sent me these guys, they're worth a lot of money. He went, yeah, you can have them. I did have to strip the paint job though. It wasn't, that sounds harsh, but it wasn't the best paint job. But he said he was only, he was young when he painted them. Dad says, Fox, Paul's cut himself with his new knife. Paul's got I assume you mean his kitchen knife. Paul, what you doing? Hopefully it's nothing major. Paul at Team Inept has got himself a new big, shiny, swirly kitchen knife type cutty thing. Now the scary thing is, it looks really... He's put a picture in the boom hut. It's like some sort of samurai blade. And I can imagine if you cut yourself with that, you've lost a limb. So I hope it's nothing major. Dave says, one of my Dreadnoughts was the Conquest, on the other two are from the Warhammer shop, totally off plastic, different plastic. Yeah, all the Conquest stuff, it's not made in Nottingham. I can tell you that, because it is different plastic. It's lighter and more brittler, but also a bit more soft and squishy. It's really weird. I don't think this stuff is made in Nottingham at all. this is made somewhere else. All the stuff for Warhammer Conquest. I mean, it's still good. It's good plastic. It's fine. It's not the plastic we're used to. Dad says, just a nick. That's good to hear. That's both awesome and disappointing. I'm glad that Paul's not seriously injured, but also I've missed out on my daily dose of Schadenfreude, which is a bit disappointing. Come on, Paul. You know I need my dose of Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude! I keep trying to get Scott into wargaming. I need a grown-up to talk to, says Fluffy Guts. Well, just tell him that he can. Why don't you explain to Scott? In fact, even I can figure out how you would do this, Fluffy Guts. Basically, you need to show him that he can build an entire Imperial army with Lehman Russ battle tanks and Bane blades and Hydras and maybe even some of the Forge World stuff, some of the Mars pattern tanks, and he can paint them if he wants to in IDF colours. There's no reason why he couldn't do an Imperial Guard army as IDF. That is how you get him interested. If you say to Scott, you can build a massive armoured division of IDF tanks, he'd be all over that. He's watching now anyway, so have I done it, Scott? Are you interested now? See, George says it, paint them IDF style. For those that don't know, if you don't know what we're talking about, Scott, my very good friend Scott and Fluffy Guts are both in Orkney. And they know each other, they're good friends. So Scott likes to make armour. He makes tanks and stuff like that. But he loves Israeli Defence Force vehicles. All his builds are in this kind of the colour schemes and markings for Israeli Defence Force vehicles. That's his thing. That's what he likes doing. And you've got to say, some of the IDF vehicles are kind of kick-ass looking. They're very slightly futuristic. And that's what Scott likes. So, yeah, if you want to get Scott into Warhammer, show him, get him on Forge World and get him look at some of the tanks. Oh, I know you're watching, Scott, so we're talking about you even though you're there. But yeah, that's where your mojo will get in with the IDF stuff. So you get Scott interested. Honestly, the easiest way to get a scale model into 40k is to show them a Bane blade. Pretty much. Dave says, Fluffy, I badger him nearly every evening, but it's not IDF. It says, yeah. Steel Titan, welcome Steel Titan. The Games Workshop has been outsourcing to China for some of their stuff like the Endless Spells and the terrain pieces. Wouldn't surprise me if the Conquest stuff comes from the same place. It probably does. The real bizarre thing is that despite all that, the scenery pieces, the terrain pieces, the bits of buildings and some of the crates, that's still that big, thick brown plastic, and that's no different to the actual stuff you buy in the store. This is weird. They're really dense, drop it on the desk stuff. So that stuff's still the same. Vasily says, show me a Bane blade. Somebody put a link in, please, to the chat to the Bane blade on Games Workshop store. And show him. Bane blade is just huge. I've told the story before, but the Bane blade can be fitted with a cannon. I think it's the volcano cannon that has an infinite range. And there's a legendary tale about at my local Warhammer store, which is in Altrincham. There was a game going on one of the tables, and somebody had a Bane blade with that gun, whichever gun it was, with the infinite range. And just for a laugh, they phoned the Manchester Games Workshop store and said, we've got a Bane blade in the game, it's taken a shot, but it's actually overshot the table. Can you get one of your people playing a game at your place to roll to see what happens? So they rolled, and it killed half of someone's army. So basically, they played a game, fired a shot from the Bane blade, and it wiped out half of somebody's army 15 miles away in a totally different game. Because it has infinite range, just for laughs. They went along with it, and that's awesome. There are apocryphal stories of people playing with weapons like that, where you take a shot, but you actually get the people playing in the table next to you as if it's gone onto their table, and I think that's awesome. There you go. Dad's put a link in for the Baneblade. I'll get a Baneblade at some point. Especially for models who are into armour, building tanks and the like. Baneblade is brilliant. It's like a modern massive battle tank, which is what MBT stands for. MBT stands for massive battle tank. It doesn't really. It's like a modern MBT, but with like World War I riveting all over it. It's fantastic stuff. And if you play the game, your opponents will hate you completely. Yeah. Right, this isn't a really... I'm not enjoying getting rid of the nubs on this thing because they're all over the place and they're all in awkward corners. It's a right pain in the bum. Oh. Das ist nicht richtig. Pain in the bum. My Manticore missile hit the table across the room a few weeks ago, says Fluffy Guts. Yeah. How does it work then, Fluffy? Because you fire a shot. What determines that your shot has gone off your table? And then how do you determine where it goes? Is it like, do you roll for the range or something? Like you roll a 6 and that means you've shot it off the table. How do you know it's not landed on your enemies and it's gone on somebody else's table? What determines that? Vastly says, okay, reminds me of Metal Slug. Yeah, he's looking at the Baneblade. Yeah, so what determines where your shot actually lands? Right, this is a right pain in the butt to get to. And may not be well sanded because I can't get my sanding stick in there. Oh, frustrations. Aviat says, we don't have scatter anymore. When in doubt, just death strike it. Is there actually a gameplay option for Exterminatus? See, again, because my intention is to eventually get around to playing the game, but I haven't. I'm just focusing on the building and painting, so I've not even read how to play the game yet properly. So is there actually an option in game for Exterminatus? Or is that just fanciful? I mean, that would be a right way to just ruin a game, because you Exterminatus and everybody's gone. So, is there an in-game option? Beyond Hope says, so the Baneblade is the 40k version of the TOG2 tank. TOG2, I don't know what the TOG2 is. But that was suggested Dave. The Death Strike says, that's as close as you can get really. It's a mobile nuke, says Aviad. What time are we on? 4:30. Dave says, yes, it's a TOG with bigger guns. Iru says, spend CP's orbital bombardment. So you can use command points for orbital bombardment. Yes. Is that still, it's not really it's not Exterminatus. I'm guessing Exterminatus isn't something you can actually do, because that would just wipe the table out, wouldn't it? So, yeah, orbital bombardment sounds good. How's that looking? Hold it up to the light, see if it's scruffy. It's looking alright. That'll be fine once it's painted. It will be fine once it's painted. I will do some weathering on this, but it won't be heavily weathered. So I'm just trying to be conscious of that and keep that in. Oh, there's a bit of lump there. Keep that in the back of my mind. It's going to be weathered, but not massively. Fox, I'm at Tankfest next Saturday. I'll post a photo of the TOG. Oh, it's a real TOG. Okay. I thought TOG was like something from a different game. I understand. We were looking about. There are no rules for it, really. My missile slammed into a building on the next table. We just figured it would keep going till it hit something. Cool. I mean, imagine if there was a way to do that officially, so that like you fire a shot, it lands on somebody else's table and turns the tide of their battle completely. Imagine you're just like winning at a match, winning in a game, and then somebody else's cannon fire takes out one of your key units, and suddenly you're on the back foot. Beyond Hope says 40k tank styling is more appropriate to the tanks from World War I, and yes, Yeah, especially some of the resin Forge World stuff is very World War One. And Tog 2 was an idea from that era built for World War Two. It failed, but it was big. I'm getting vague memories. I might actually know what it is now, I think. But yes, the Warhammer stuff is very World, especially things like the Lehman Russ. They're very World War One styled. Fantastic. Aviad says, Exterminatus, just table flip. Yeah. Screw this, flip. There you go, Exterminatus. There are games like that you agree to link all your tables. Cool. David Butch, that model, says back in the days to be able to call a bombardment from ships in orbit. That's what Iru said about spend command points and getting orbital bombardments. That's still there. I meant to say, by the way, if you're not familiar with the Warhammers and you don't know what I'm building the Redemptor Dreadnought, which is kind of awesome when you think about it. A Dreadnought, when a Space Marine gets critically injured, he's not dead, but he's mortally wounded, so he would eventually die. What they'd sometimes do is, instead of just letting him die, if they can't fix him and get him back to combat ready again, instead of letting him die, what they may do is entomb him. I like that word, entomb him in a dreadnought. And a dreadnought is basically a coffin. It's a stasis chamber and a coffin and a mech all in one. And basically, it's a life support system with weapons, because it's 40k. Of course, it's with weapons. Basically, the Space Marine survives and lives on inside the dreadnought. He's integrated into the software of it. He's integrated into the machinery, so he becomes one with the dreadnought. He can't be taken out. He can't be separated. He becomes as one with it. And he will then basically survive just as this man machine. And he'll be just, when he's not in battle, he's in stasis, he's unconscious, he's zonked, he's gone. When he's needed, he's roused, turned on, if you will. Somebody presses the on switch, and he goes back into battle. So really, it's like an endless, forever death sort of thing. He's not quite dead, but he's not necessarily quite alive. But he can be roused when he's needed to go back into battle. Then when the battle's finished, he goes back to suspended animation. And it's just typically grimdark of 40k. You think, oh, it's a way to survive. It's like, no, because you're either asleep or fighting. And some of the dreadnoughts, these Redemptor ones are like a new pattern, so they're only like a couple of years old. In the lore, they're a couple of years old. But some of the dreadnoughts can be hundreds, if not over 1,000 years old. You know, there are dreadnoughts from before the Horus Heresy, which is 31st millennium, and this is the 41st millennium. There are venerable dreadnoughts which can be over 1,000 years old, and they're revered by the Space Marines. They're like the elders. They're the wise elders. They're known for their outstanding tactical knowledge. And it's just typically grimdark of 40k. It's kind of sad in a way, but also glorious at the same time. That's basically what 40k is. Let's have a look. Chat says, Beyond Hope says, if Games Workshop started releasing orbital defense batteries in kit form, I may be interested. But I'm going to have to stop work on the Sazabi for today, says Quanaman. My brain is frazzlized. Yes. It's what A&E put men in when they get colds and flu, says Fluffy Guts about the Dreadnought. Jordan Capuano. Hey, dude. Welcome, Jordan. Aviad says, it's the ultimate reward, Dreadnought. You get to fight for the Imperium while slowly losing your mind in an armoured sarcophagus. Yes. The Chaos versions, the Hell Brutes, as always, there is a Chaos version. The Hell Brute is the Chaos equivalent of a Dreadnought, and when a Chaos Space Marine is mortally wounded, he's put inside a Hell Brute. However, it's not quite as good if you're a Chaos guy, because as with the Hell Brute, as with the Chaos Rhinos, the guy is inside the Hell Brute, but there's also a demon. It's also, it's got a demon soul that operates it. So with most of the as with most things in Chaos side, it's kind of seen as a punishment. So if you get put inside one, there's a very good chance that it will actually subsume you and take you over completely, and you'll just be lost forever. So yeah, there's always a downside, and that's why you don't want to be Chaos, dude. So you want to put these two bits together. We want to be together. Want to put these two bits. I missed something here. I'm missing something seriously. What am I doing here? 1 and 2. Doodle 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 doo. It's not even the right piece, Fox. You've spent ages cleaning and prepping the right piece, and it's not even the right piece. You spoon. Oh well. There's not that many parts. Never mind. So we'll get this bit off. It was this bit I wanted all. I knew that. I'm still zoomed in, aren't I? Nobody told me I was still zoomed in. Can't get the staff. Apologies if you've been watching that for ages and not seen anything. There we go. You didn't tell me I was zoomed in. What did I pay you guys for? God damn. Yeah, so being the Chaos version is not happy if you get put into a Hellbrute. Yeah. That is true from the older Dreadnoughts. The Redemptor only have short life due to the power of them, says Mordraka. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Because they are more powerful than a lot of the other Dreadnoughts. These Redemptors, because these, if I remember right with the fluff, these came out or designed at the same time as the Primaris. I don't know if these are from the old what's his name, the Admech dude whose name I've forgotten. They came up with the Primaris. I don't know if one of his designs. I don't know if the fluff says it's from an STC they found, or if it's from or they just kind of quietly on the quiet without saying anything kind of designed them themselves. Don't know. Wow, chat's just jumped. Aviad Madar says, get a quick HG kit and just get it done in a sitting, because Jordan says, is there anything you would suggest for motivation? I've not had head to build or paint since last November. And Aviad says, do a quick HG kit. Yeah, Jordan, HG is a high-grade Gumpler kit. They're just snapped together. You don't have to worry about gluing them or anything. They're just like little builds. If your mojo goes, and I've said this before, if your mojo ever deserts you, and it will, it does for everybody, when your mojo legs it and goes, don't stress about it. There will be times when you've got no desire to do anything whatsoever in terms of building or painting. Just nothing at all. No desire at all. And that's absolutely normal. What a chunk taken out there. Bugger. Okay, he's going to have some weathering because I've just taken a big chunk out of his armour. Never mind. Yeah, sometimes it will desert you, and there's nothing much you can do. The worst thing you can do when you get a dry spell, the worst thing you can do is try and force it. Try and force yourself to do anything. You're just going to end up resenting it and doing a bad job, and you just spiral outwards. The best thing I've learned to do is basically go and do something else. My two big pastimes are this, doing models, and the video games. I love the video games. So if I'm ever at an impasse where I really haven't got the mojo to get on with something, either because it might be a particularly long and drawn out build that I get bored really easily, so if I've got a particularly long and drawn out build, there'll be parts where I'll be doing like lots and lots of, say, building or tedious cleanup or something that I'm not really interested in doing. And the worst thing I can do is just keep going at it, because you just get grumpy. As soon as you start, I always say, as soon as you get to the point where you look at your build and you go, I can't be bothered, then all you need to do is just don't be bothered. Go off and do something else. For me, I just sit and play some video games for a bit. Maybe a day, could be a week, could be a month. And just leave it. Go and do something else. And you'll find, without fail, every single time, if you do that, that naturally, excuse me, naturally, you'll get the itch back to go back to it. Now that's only if you know, see if you've got, other things you can do at the same time that you also like doing, like say video games or whatever. You might write. I also used to compose music many years ago, but I haven't got the equipment anymore. So you can do that. Or it might just be a case, if it's just a particular build that you're in the middle of doing and you just kind of got bogged down and bored. Because some builds, if they're particularly complex, you really can get to the point of boredom. Even though it's a passionate hobby that you love, it can get to the point of boredom. Then all you need to do is take that particular build, put it back in a box, and go and find something else. So, for example, if what you're working on was very build heavy, say you were making something that had 1 billion parts and you were bored of sanding and cleaning and gluing, then put that to one side and go and work on something that's the complete opposite. So, for example, if I'm working on, I've done it before, I've been working on a kit that might have 1 trillion parts. It's a proper glue kit and it's got 1 trillion parts, and I've spent weeks and weeks cleaning and denubbing and sanding and attaching little bits, and I get bored. So what I'll do is then I'll put that to one side and I'll go and find, for example, like Avi had suggested, a Gunpla, which is a push fit kit. You don't even have to paint it. Or I might get myself, if it's, say I've been working on something that's involved a lot of building. I hate building. I'm not in it. I don't make models. I don't enjoy the building part. I enjoy the painting and weathering part. So when I'm stuck doing building for a long time, I get bored, seriously bored. So what I'll do is, if the build I'm working on is a particularly build intensive, which is not what I enjoy, then I'll put it to one side and I'll go and do something like a Warhammer kit, which is minimal build and maximum painting, because painting's what I like. So I'll take a week out and I'll go and do something that's the complete opposite. And it's often, it's natural to have different parts of the hobby that you enjoy and different parts that you don't enjoy at all. You get builders and you get painters and you get both. People who enjoy just building but don't really enjoy the painting and the weathering. There's people that enjoy the painting and the weathering, like me, but don't really enjoy the building part of the hobby. This part is boring to me. And then you get people who like both, and they're just weird. I was also very lucky. I'm a painter. I'm not a builder. I find the building process, this bit I'm doing now, sanding and denubbing and assembling, boring as hell. I really have no interest in it. But it's not a necessary evil to get to the bit I like. So if it is a particularly build-intensive project I'm on and I've got bored, and I will get bored, then I'll just take a few days out and I'll slap a Games Workshop kit together and paint it. Because that's the palette cleanser. Either go off and do something that's nothing to do with model making. And this plaster's coming off, hang on. Go off and do something that's completely unrelated to whatever you're doing. So like, go off and play video games, or read a book or whatever. Or stay within the hobby, but do something that's completely different. So if it's a build heavy kit, go and do a lot of painting. Go and get something that's simple to build and easy to paint. If it's a complex paint job, so you're building something with 1 billion little different details you've got to mask off an airbrush and things like that, then go and do something that's a complex build and is all building, or has a complex paint job or a simple paint job. Don't be afraid to walk away. At the end of the day, we're all going to live for many, many decades. And there's no law that says everything has to be finished now in the next 5 minutes. I've got a build that I started. I've got a Marquee Raider. I've got a Star Trek Marquee Raider kit that I started 6 years ago. I basically glued the two hull halves together, and it's been sat under this table for the last 6 years. It's just because I got to the point of thinking about painting it, and then that was quite an involved process, and then I got bored, so I moved on to something else to keep my mojo, and then I never got back to it. So don't be afraid to just walk away and either do something completely different or just something, a palate cleanser. It's like if you eat think of your favourite meal in the world, your favourite food. Let's say your favourite food is lasagna. You are Garfield. And you might think, I love lasagna. I would kill another human being if it meant I got lasagna. Lasagna is my life. I will do anything for lasagna. But if I fed you lasagna every single day, day in, day out, it wouldn't take long for you to hate lasagna completely. You would hate it with a vengeance. And you'd cry out for something else. And that's the thing. So you go and eat something else. And then you come back to lasagna later. So don't be afraid. There's no deadlines. It's a fun hobby. We're doing it for fun. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, then don't do it. It's as simple as that. Go and do something else. You can always come back. You can always, and you will. Let's get another plaster. This one's coming. Look at this. Oh, it's coming off. But yes, anyway. So yeah, just go and do something else. You'll be fine. If you've not had the mood for like 6 or 7 months, just leave it. Don't think about it. Find something else that interests you. It may well be not necessarily your destiny to get to do model making for the rest of your life. You have to accept that as well. It may well be that you go off and try something else, and you suddenly find a passion for that, and you go off and do that for the rest of your life. It's not impossible. And you, like me, I did model making for 20 years. I then went off and did other things for a lot of years after that, and I only came back to this hobby like 5 or 6 years ago after almost a 20-year break. So there you go. So that is there. That goes on there like that. You see? Get this right this time now. Kaplink, kaplink, kaplink. I'm gonna have to go and get another plaster. Right, give me 2 seconds. Let me go and find another plaster before this one comes off. Hang on. Let me put you on the holding music for a moment. I will be back momentarily. There we go, and we are returned. Sorry about that. Get another plaster on here. I'll double plaster it. Frankie the Gamer, getting my first kit tomorrow. Can't wait. Woo, lovely, lovely. Welcome, Frankie. Is it your first ever Warhammer kit or your first ever model kit in the world ever? Because that's cool. I'll have a quick look at the chat in a second. If you're wondering why I'm doing this, it's because if you weren't here earlier on, there was Stabberty. There was Stabberty with the modelling knife and the thumb and the exploding finger of happiness. There we go, it's better. And just in case I've got a goodly supply, I'll put these to one side safe, so yeah, I'll need them later, don't worry about that. So that is there. Played Warframe and Witcher 3 and been putting off painting the Poxwalkers, been batch painting them today, says Eon's Car. Yeah, I found... somebody mentioned that earlier on, and I found those contrast paints, when they come out, they'll be great for painting Poxwalkers. Let me show you. I've showed it before, but I'll show it again for anybody who hasn't seen it before. I did a little bit of contrast painting when on the in-store day for this guy. Yeah, I know it's out of focus, and it's kind of crappy zoomed-in nonsense. But that was, ignore the fact it's a digital zoom, so it looks terrible. That was about 5 minutes. Now, obviously, you could go back in with proper paints to do all the sort of details and bits and bobs, but just for getting the base flesh colours down, if you've got like a load of poxwalkers, it's a real quick way to get all the nasty gory green and orange and brown and purpley tones on the flesh. I'll have like 20 or 30 of them to do when I do the Conquest poxwalkers, and believe me, I'll be getting myself some of the relevant paints, the contrast paints, and I'll be doing it that way. I won't be painting them carefully by hand. No way, because it will take forever. Take approximately all the time in the world. Right, so that goes in there. Right, so that's that. And I can glue this together, I think. It doesn't really matter, so I shall glue this together now. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Biddly-bom, diddly-bom. Glued together. You don't actually have to glue this. It does actually fit together quite nicely. But I'm going to glue it anyway. These kits that are from the sort of the easy to build range, you don't actually have to glue them, or most of them you don't have to glue. But I'm going to glue it just because I want to. There are no real seam lines you have to worry about. There's a little seam line going around the bottom, but you're never going to see that, not really. And again, if you need to, you can just get some glue, some extra thin, and squish it, and that will squeeze out. The seam line on the top here, it just looks like a panel line, which is kind of nice. It looks like a panel line in the armour. You're not really going to see it. It's all gravy. So while that's glued on, I shall have a quick look at chat. I need to drill out these exhausts as well, actually, don't I? So there's that as well. Let's have a quick look at the chattings, see what chattings is doing. JS Hido's in. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy Sunday. Welcome, welcome. Even in death, I still serve random Dreadnought, says Eon's car. World War II is much easier to understand, says Vasily. Chaos is cool if you're a Death Guard, though. Nurgle's blessing takes away all pain. You just smile and fight, says George Gabriel. Yes. Beyond Hope says to Jordan, get yourself a small, quick, cheap kit, plane, tank, boat, whatever. Forget about painting it. Just glue it together for fun. Get it done in an afternoon. That's another thing. Yep. Just get something that's quick and easy to do. Like I say, when I get stuck on a build, I'll just put that to one side and do a quick build thing that I can paint. Because for me, painting is the thing. So I'll do something. And that's why, as I've been learning to brush paint over these last few years, these are a godsend now. If I ever get into a slump, I can just pull a Warhammer kit out and paint it. Fox, don't put the front plate on. You'll never be able to paint the sarcophagus. Just a heads up. That's this one, isn't it? Yeah, that's going to sit on top of there, like that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I won't glue it on. I'll put it on, but I'm not going to glue it on because I need to put this in the shelf once it's built. So good call on that, Dave. I think you can probably do a push fit anyway because it seems like it'll just push into place. So yes, I'm going to want to paint this bit. If I glue that on, it's not happening, is it? So yeah. Cool. Cheers for the heads up. I was watching. I thought you meant to be zoomed in. Dad. The Redemptors burn out their host quite quickly, says Steel Titan. Welcome, Steel Titan. Yes, okay. So yeah, they're obviously more powerful. Belisarius called. If that's it, Belisarius called. I can't remember his name. Yeah. So when he did the Primarnis, the Primarni Marines, I know he did this thing as well. Because Belisarius called. You see, he's a bit skirting what's allowed and what's heretical, isn't he? He's got this little avatar of himself, and he's designing new things. Like, ooh. It's about bloody time, if you ask me. The Imperium's stuck in its own ways. About time somebody designed something new. My mojo left me about a year ago, says Fluffy Guts, but I have to keep going as I play every week, so I build but don't paint as I want to make a good job of it. Steel Titan says, interestingly enough, because Primaris are made on Mars, they have no connection to Terra like a normal Space Marine, which is why people are wondering if Cole will ever do an Order 66 on the Imperium. Interesting. Vasily says, I found now I got an airbrush, I paint a lot less. The cleanup takes so much time. Yes, I actually got to the point, because I used to airbrush everything, and when I started to learn how to brush paint, I got to the point where I hate airbrushing now. I hate it. I just want to build the thing and paint it. I actually hate getting my airbrush out, because with painting you go, going to paint it now, paint it. When you're airbrushing, you've got to get set up. You've got to do the painting. You've got to get the paint ready. You've got to mix your paint. You've got to get it thin. You've got to do the spraying carefully. You've got to mask off. You've got to do this. Then you've got to clean up the brush. It's, oh, I just want to paint. Ooh. So yes, learning to brush paint. The downside is you might hate airbrushing. Dave says, Fluffy, I've had a cunning plan. You take Scott out for dinner and ply him full of strong drink, then take him to a Warhammer evening and boom, we've got him hooked. Yeah. Or just, oh, something jumped. It whizzed. It moved. Frankie the Gamer's first kit. I'm getting some narrative Gundam C-packs for my first ever kit. Cool. Gunpla. It's a good way to start with Gunpla because they're super easy to build. There's no complex building. You can just have fun painting them. Is that the QB Redemptor Fox? It's the Warhammer Conquest Quick Build Redemptor, yes. And as it's quick build, I've only done like that so far. I don't do quick build. Yes, it's issue 2425 of Warhammer Conquest, I think. Like I said before, I'm just kind of getting all my Warhammer Conquest stuff built and out of the front room, out of the envelopes, on shelves, so that later in the year I can get down to painting them. It must be Fox whizzing time. No, I went downstairs to get a plaster. Let's have a look. Beyond Hope's I'm off as well. Need to do some more of this tank I'm building. Have fun, folks. Thanks for coming in, Beyond Hope. You're probably not seeing this bit now. I always do that. Fox, you know that music makes Dad get up and Morris dance. Yeah, well, he has to get the Pelvatron working a bit, doesn't he? Cheers, dude. Thanks, says Jordan. I'm slowly getting a feel for it with the announcement of the Apocalypse, and you mentioned that one model is Primaris Calgar. Haha, I'm a builder rather than a painter. See, there you go. You're either a builder or a painter, or the rare person that likes both. But most of us tend to prefer one to the other. Do 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 do. Is Warhammer a hard game to learn? Sounds fun, says James. From what I've learnt myself, because I am a grade A card carrying moron and idiot, and I hate learning stuff. I'm rubbish at learning things. I can't learn things for toffee. But I've had to read through the blurb, and if you read through the codices and you have a look at the guides, and if you just watch a few YouTube videos, it's actually not that hard to pick up. It can be straightforward. If you start off with small games, small skirmishy games, things like that, you can actually start to get a feel for it quite quickly. You're not getting too complicated. The 8th edition, which came out the year before last, which is the current edition of it, is a lot more streamlined, precisely to help people get into the hobby a bit easier. 7th edition apparently was quite what's the word? Daunting. It was quite complex. So they did streamline it a lot for this current edition, so it should be fairly straightforward. Now this is the bit we glued earlier on, where I put some glue down the seam of this cannon. And what I'm hoping is that it's only been about half an hour or so, an hour, but the glue should have set enough that I can very gently and very carefully file or sand it away from over the edge. You don't have to leave it for 24 hours, this stuff. Just leave it long enough that it can be sanded back. Very gently, very gently. And what I'm doing is the bead of glue that popped up above the little gap between the two halves, that's now sanded away. And what's left is where the glue and plastic is in the recess, it now fills that recess. So it looks like there was never a gap there. Unless I told you, you wouldn't know it was there. Now you can still see it here because it's a different colour. But once I've primed over that and painted it, if I look up in the light, there's no obvious visible seam line. That's now done. So you don't have to, when you get a little seam line where two things go together, like that, and you get this little gap, you don't need to worry about things like fillers all the time. If it's a microscopically fine gap and it's polystyrene that the kit's made of, just a bit of extra thin, squish it together, give it half an hour to an hour, very gently, quickly go and sand it back, and you end up with a nice seam line free, more or less, seam line free gap. And keep in mind, this is a tabletop model. It's going to be seen from like 3 feet away, so it's even less important that it looks beautiful. Stabberty Fox sounds like something created by Beatrix Potter, says Cynical Mag. Welcome, Cynical Mag. Yeah, Stabberty Fox, that's me. Uncle Stabby. Fox, what has happened to your thumb? Yeah, I there was a moment with this and this about half an hour into the show. There was Stabberty. There was a small piercing, a moment of pincushion nirvana. So yeah, if you're wanting to get into the game, like I say, I've not even played my first game yet, and I've only skirted through reading the codex and stuff. But it kind of makes perfect sense. It's broken down really simply, and the 8th edition, the current one, seems fairly straightforward. And when I actually started doing this, my intention was just to get the models and build them because they looked cool. I thought, these models look, I'm going to get some of these because they look awesome. I had no intention of actually playing the game. But then as you start to watch, you watch various YouTube videos about how to build and paint them, and you start to see things like, the Warhammer TV content, and you watch Duncan building them and painting them. Then maybe you go onto Twitch and watch the Warhammer TV where they play a game. Because that's what did it for me. I was watching some of the tutorials on Warhammer TV. Then I started watching the Hangout and Paint with Peachy and Duncan on Twitch, which is the Warhammer TV Twitch channel. And I'm watching the ones with Peachy and Duncan sat there painting. But at the same time, in that Twitch channel, there is sort of 2-hour-long games. And at first I thought, well, I'm not interested in that really, but I watched the one where Peachy's playing Duncan. And it was just because I liked Duncan and I liked Peach and I liked the way they relate to each other. And I watched it for those two and then found the game quite interesting. And it just kind of went from there, really. So, by exposing yourself to the model making side of the hobby, by default, you're kind of going to be exposed to the play side as well. And it might not be anything, it might not tickle your fancy at all, but you'll kind of by default get exposed to it. How's that looking? It's looking mighty smooth-ish. Smoother-ish. Fluffy Gut says Bolt Action's also an easy game to get into. That's like a World War II version of Warhammer, basically. It's standard tabletop shooty. William Rayborn, good morning everyone. Welcome William, welcome. Jamie's in, welcome Jamie. Hi Jamie. You missed Dad's question earlier on, Jamie, but I'm going to guess it's roast chicken. I'm going to guess roast chicken. What's Fox working on today, says William. QB Redemptor suggests, yes, it's the quick build Redemptor from Warhammer Conquest. Issues 24 and 25. I'm just getting it built, basically, and out of the way. So I thought I'd do that today. I was working on the Lord Felthius last week, and I thought I'd get him and the scenery items that come after him in the magazine done and out of the way. So this week we could spend time doing this Redemptor. And as it's coming up to 5 o'clock, I've not even got anywhere close to finishing him yet because I'm just waffling and taking my time because I am rubbish. I am a slow builder. But like I said, building is not my thing. I'm not a builder, I'm a painter. I do take pride in my work, I just take longer to do it. This is the bit where the ammo chain linked together and it had that big seam line down the middle. So a little bit of filing, a little bit of sanding. I find when you've got a seam line you fill with glue, like I say, the glue will evaporate when it's filled it with polystyrene. I find using a metal file on these Warhammer kits, especially on these ones, it actually works quite well. But Warhammer kits are really metal file friendly. Flatten it down with a metal file, go in with your 180 grit sanding sponge, then go in with your 220 grit sanding sponge. and that will make it nice and smooth and ready for paint then, basically. And the gap has disappeared. There's actually no gap there at all because it's been completely filled by the polystyrene that the glue melted and bubbled up. So there you go, no filler, no seam line, perfect. Now if you weren't painting this, if this was a gunpla, of course you'd go with higher and higher sanding grits and keep sanding it and polishing it and buffing it. This is going to be painted. It doesn't need to be beautiful clean plastic, it just needs to be smooth. And 220 grit, that's going to look fine once it's sanded. There's a little bit of a pit there, I need to just maybe gently file that just a touch. There's a little bit of a recessed pit where the glue didn't deposit any polystyrene. Let me quickly just avoid that. When you're sanding Games Workshop plastic, like I say, apart from this 220 stuff, which you can go in both, when you're using the rough files or the 180 grits, anything like that, go in one direction, just to minimise the amount of scratching. And that is almost there. A little bit of scratchy, so I want to gently just work over that again in one direction. Because remember, each time you do a layer of sanding, the first layer is to remove the excess plastic that you want to get rid of. The second sanding course is to get rid of any marks left by that first course of sanding. The third sanding layer, or step, or whatever you want to use, that is to get rid of any marks left by the second sanding step. So it's only really the first round of sanding that is there to get rid of any excess plastic. The rest of it is purely to clean up. So there we are, that's painted. And painted? No, not painted, that's not the word I'm looking for at all. It wasn't painted, it's sanded even. So just very gently. I can't really get the file into the bit on the side there very easily. I don't want to make a mess of it, so I may live with the little seam line that's there, maybe. I don't know, maybe we won't. If I can get the file in there, I'll be able to get rid of it, but I'm not. Let's just get rid of it. There we go. Very gently. Go in one direction. Stick to your one direction. And again, it's only been about an hour. I just need the glue to flash off long enough that it can be sanded. It's mostly just polystyrene that I'm sanding away. So if you haven't got any in your tools, in your arsenal of tools, get yourself some Tamiya Extra Thin. It really is fantastic stuff. Whether you're making sprue goo, whether you're using it to fill gaps like this, just as the glue, or whether you're just using it as a glue, it's just the best glue there is. It's also thin enough that when you're gluing stuff together, you can actually put the pieces together first and then just touch the glue to the gap and it will zip into the gap. Via the magic of caterpillar action, it will do all the work for you. There we go. Diddly bomb, diddly bomb, diddly bomb. There we go. Any gap on there? No, that's fine. Now there are a few little scratchy scratches there, only very delicate ones, but they are fine enough that when the primer goes on there, you won't see them. And now what we've got here is there's the gap round here. This can quickly be covered over. So very gently with the metal file, I'm curving the file round like that to follow the curve of the part that I'm sanding. Just gentle enough to file off the excess blob of plastic over the gap. If anybody's not seen me do this before, doesn't know what I'm doing, do let me know now and I'll do a little diagram to explain it for you. I know most of you know exactly what I'm doing now with this filling the gap with the glue, and I'd explain it a bit, but if you need me to do a little diagram, tell me now and I'll do it now in a minute. But now I want to file this down. You can see there's a little step here between, you might be able to see, but the two ends, they're at different heights because they don't quite line up. This is why I wanted to do this gluing first, and now I can sand these together, get rid of the nub, and get them down to one level. But not a drop of filler. I can't remember the last time I actually had to use filler on a model, ever. It's been so long. I've, I've got a pack of milliput that I think has been sat there for like 3 years. that's there. Thankfully, this old file is so old and ever so slightly soft because it's worn down a bit that I can sometimes go straight into 220 grit from a metal file just to smooth things down, and it works. There we do. Snowman's in. Hey, Snowman. Yeah, if anybody needs me to do a little diagram to explain how I'm filling this gap, if anybody's watching this who's never watched me before and doesn't know what I'm doing with the glue and the gap head, I'll do a diagram for you. If not, I'll just carry on. My assumption is you all know what I'm doing, so. I never know what you're doing, says Spid. Well, yeah, we're both in the same boat there, dude. Can't quite get this flat. And the reason I'm using a metal file here and not my sanding sponge to flatten this down is if you use a sanding sponge that might curve, I need this to be flat. It's not actually flat. That's the problem with these things. It's not always the easiest thing to do. What I might do is a bit of a cheat. What time are we on? 5 past. Okay, it's nearly sticker giveaway time. Nearly. Okay. Well, I'm struggling to get rid of this seam line here on the end, and I don't want to file it anymore because it's kind of losing its flatness. So what I might need to do is get creative and actually cover this up with something. And this is where I might get my Greebles box out. Okay, so I've still got a bit of a seam line on this end piece. I don't think I can't really sand that anymore. What I'm going to do is, I'm not going to do it now because I can't actually get to my Greebles box. It's down underneath the desk. What I'll do is, I'll go into my box of Greebles, and Greebles are just little bits of kits that I've not used, little bits of, pieces of kit. When you finish a kit and you've got leftover bits, put it in a box. Gaz Vickers is off, I think. Thanks for coming in, mate. Sadly, I must go. The wife is moaning at me. Oh, never mind, mate. See you again. Thanks, dude. Yeah, when you finish your kit, put all the bits that are left over in a bag or a box, and that's your Greebles box. Those bits can come in handy. I'm going to go in my Greebles pack later on and find a small circular piece that will fit on the end of this gun here. And it'll just be a little tiny piece, like it might be a little tiny tank wheel or something, or a bit of detail from something. And I can spong it on the end, glue it on, and it won't make any difference to the model. It'll look like part of this, but it'll cover up that little panel gap. You don't always need to use fillers. Sometimes you can just get creative. Now, it's not like I'm changing the model itself. It's not going to be any kind of rule-breaking change here. It's a little detail on the end of his gun. Nobody really cares. Nobody will know. It'll look great, and it's a little tiny detail just to cover that little gap that I can't quite get rid of because I can't really file it anymore without removing it altogether, removing the end. So I should go into my Greebles box. So yeah, whenever you finish a kit, you'll always have bits left over. Don't throw them away. Even even if it's just, doesn't matter what you're making. The entire movie industry model making business is built on Greebles. Kit bashing. Bits of kits left over. Go and watch any sci-fi film from the 70s or 80s. Look at any spaceship. They'll be covered in all the little details on the outside. They're called Greebles. And they're just little bits of kit stuck on willy-nilly to make it all look busy and interesting. And that's what I'm going to do on this. But it's actually to hide a little seam line. So there you go. Get creative. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. Okay, a little bit of a seam line there. Just get rid of that. I don't think we're going to get this puppy finished in this show. We might do. But if not, I'll get it finished off anyway. And then next week we can crack on with the Rhino, the Chaos Rhino. There we go, that's that bit. I shall have a look. I love kit bashing models. It says fluffy. I don't do kit bashing myself. I wouldn't actually build from scratch. I'm useless at scratch building. But you will see me put greebles on things sometimes. Sometimes it's just to add little detail because something's a bit sparse. But more often than not, if I like when I did my Star Wars land speeder, there was no interior cockpit. There was like a seat and a steering wheel. That was it. So I built the entire gear shift thing and a lot of details for the dashboard just from Tiger 4 tank parts. So handy tip: if you find a Tamiya 1/35 Tiger 4 cheap, buy it, because a lot of classic greeble parts that you see from on motion pictures, on filming miniatures, are actually from that specific kit, from the Tamiya 1/35 Panzer 4, not Tiger 4, Panzer 4. It's a well-known kit for kit bashing. And my entire interior cockpit for my land speeder was done with Tiger 4, Panzer 4 parts. The gear, I added a gear shift and everything that wasn't on the actual model. Let's have a look. Fox bloodletting practiced? Yes. Have I missed anything? Says Snowman. Dave says only Fox stabbing himself and taking 2 hours to do 10 minutes work. Listen, if you had a crowd to entertain while you're working, you do 10 minutes work in 2 hours as well. See, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I watch people do. I'm not going to mention any names here. There's nobody in the chat or nobody watching, I know, but I've watched other people's modelling live streams. I'm not going to say what genre of modelling. I'm not going to say who they are. Don't even bother thinking about it. But I've watched other people's live streams where they do model making. And there are two types. There's those who interact with their audience. And there's those who focus on whatever they're doing in terms of the model. There's the people that do like me. They sit there and they talk to the audience, and they're working on something, but that's not as important as dealing with the audience and looking after the audience. And there's people who are just focused on the model. And the ones that are just focused on the model, they're as boring as crap. They are just boring. You just sit and watch somebody doing this in silence. They might occasionally respond to a comment. I don't know how they get the views. It's so boring. I'd much rather take time to interact with you guys, have a laugh, talk nonsense, talk absolute drivel for 2 or 3 hours, and enjoy ourselves that way. I'm not going to glue that on, Dave. Don't panic. Yeah, I need to not glue that on. Thankfully, it stays on, but I need to not glue it on. I'd much rather be talking to you guys and having a good laugh than actually concentrating too much on what I'm actually building, because it's not the point of this show. I have a whole weekend to play with my Warhammer stuff, and this is really just a chance for me to hang out with you guys. The fact I'm working on some model at the same time is better than just me looking at the screen or at the camera. So I don't get a lot done, but like I say, that's not my priority. Is that I'm hanging out with my mates online, my lovely, lovely friends. We'll do some stickery giveaways in a bit. I'll just see how much I can get done first. Don't forget, as always, if you like my channel, if you enjoy the stuff I do. I've not been very productive over the last few weeks because I'm working on the big Cesabi and there's nothing for me to actually film at the minute. I've only got a few little bits left to do, but there's not a lot for me to film, and I'm a bit stuck. But if you enjoy this content and you'd like to help me continue making content, do consider becoming a patron, a supporter on Patreon. I do this for my living, and I earn my living from my wonderful, wonderful Patreon supporters who give their hard-earned cash to help me keep this channel going, and I love them for it. It's very, very kind of them. And also I get a little bit of money from YouTube, obviously, as well. My videos are monetized. But if you'd like to, help support this channel, I do this for a living, and I'd like to keep doing it. So if you would like to keep this channel going and keep me making content, then do pop along to Patreon. It's on there, patreon.com/modelmakingguru, and have a look and see. Consider if you'd like to consider supporting me. I will be, this week coming up, I will be starting the filming of the Master Grade Sazabi build, which is a Patreon reward build. I will be starting the filming of that in the next day or so. I've only got a few pieces left to sand and denub. And that will be a Patreon exclusive series. It'll be exclusive to $10 plus patrons. So keep that in mind. Once that's done, I'll be working on the Perfect Grade Millennium Falcon. That's going to take me a while. It's going to be a static build, perfect Master Grade Sazabi, painted in the livery of the Shanghai Dragons Overwatch team. And possibly, not guaranteed, but possibly weathered and painted in the Borderlands style. That's not guaranteed yet. I'm working on that, possibly. I have now in my hands, India ink. Dr. F. Martin's, since when? Since 1934, Dr. F. Martin's Black Star Waterproof India ink matte. This is, if my experiments work, this is for doing the outlining on the Sazabi. If it works, I've got to do some tests. But my plan is, it's going to be, if you know your Sazabi, if you know your Shanghai Dragons, it's going to be in their livery. It's a build for my patron George. It's going to be in the Sazabi, no, in the Shanghai Dragons, get my words right, in the Shanghai Dragons livery. There's going to be a bonus figure with it, like a big, almost sort of, let's say, 1/16 scale anime figure, which is going to be like a kind of George type character, let's just say. But it'll be painted and weathered. If I can get it to work, I'll do some tests. If I can get it to work and figure it out in the Borderlands style, which is not cel shaded, but it's graphic novel-y style with heavy black outlines and cross hatching, and that's what I've got the India ink for. It may, and this is why I'm saying it might have Borderlands, because it's all dependent on me being able to have the elite brush skills to do outlining and cross-hatching on a 3D model. Now, many years ago, when I was a long shaver of a lad, or even young shaver of a lad, I spent my free time drawing, all the time drawing, starting comic books. I started many graphic novels that never went anywhere because I got bored and never finished them, but I taught myself and learnt how to do proper comic book art in the old style, where you would literally pencil it in, you'd add all the watercolours, colouring, and then you'd go over with the inks, and the inks were either nib or brush, and I spent many years learning how to do that. So there was a time when I could quite happily brush ink outlines and do cross-hatching and shading and all that kind of stuff, because that's what I did. It's been 30 years since I've done that, and on a piece of paper it's not so hard. On a 3D plastic object with edges, I have no idea how hard that will be. So it may well be that I just fail miserably and it ends up that I don't do it. It'll just be painted in the Shanghai Dragons livery and that'll be it. A little bit of weathering. But if I can figure it out, if I can get the brush skills going and get the outline skills and cross-hatching skills going, I will go for that. Now, it's not going to be the anime style. You've seen Gunpla built in the anime style before. It's all nice and clean, and you've got these black outlines over it. It's not that style. It's not that kind of anime cel shaded style. It's Borderlands style. If you've not played the game Borderlands, it's like a kind of comic book style, where it's cel shade. It's got the outlines, sort of, cel shade cel animation outlines, but the colouring is more realistic. It's more like watercolor graphic novel colouring, so you get dirt and dust and weathering and chipping and that kind of stuff. It's not all just flat. You get bleached colours and faded colours and things like that. So that's what we're going to try for. I say it may end up just being not doing that at all. Yeah, we will see. Right, let's see how much we get this. I might be able to get the torso and arms done today, I think. I'm going to have to put a seal on these, I think. This little seam fill, and I don't know if it'll dry fast enough. Dinner time, says Paul at Team Inept. Yay, what you having, Paul? Remind me, because I've forgotten. Either that or I wasn't listening when you said last time. Doodle doodle doo doodle doodle doo. I love all the rivet detail on Warhammer kits, but I also hate all the rivet detail because it's a pain in the ass when it comes to not sanding it away, but having to get rid of other things, but keep the rivets. It's like, oh, fudge. It's like they always have mould lines that go right down between rivets, and it's like, oh, for crying out loud. Come on, G-dubs. Sort that out. Gentlemen, sort it out. There's a mould line here, but it's right. I've got to try and sand between all the rivets. It's like at least they're spaced apart enough that I can get a sanding sponge in there. But still, G-dubs, still. How much that's going to be visible anyway? If that goes in there like that. How I don't even know how that goes together. A bit of it will be visible. Visible. So anyway, yes, the this is RB build. There will be a Patreon exclusive series, but I will do little sort of 5 or 10 minute diary videos for non-patrons. Although I won't do a lot. I won't do one for every episode. It'll be like, you know, if the full series is like say 7 or 8 episodes, it might be 1 or 2 of the little build diaries, and they'll just be really quick overviews. Because it's a Patreon reward build. It's a build for George. He's one of my top tier patrons. And if you're a top tier patron, back in the day, every 12 months you would be able to choose a master grade Gumpler as a reward, and I would build and paint it. It's changed now. It's actually Warhammer stuff now. If you're a top tier patron after 12 months support, you can choose a Warhammer build. I will build and paint to professional level for you, or to as close as I can get to professional level. Back in the chat in a moment. We're on 5:23, so get this bit done. Get some stickies given away. We've got 4 stickers to give away today, not 3. Woo! Numbers, yes. I've got to drill these barrels out as well at some point. Oh. I might not drill out this flaming barrel because it's too damn small. Too damn small. Any seam lines? Yes, big seam line on the hand. Thanks, Obama. I think that's about all the bits on there I need to worry about. So that needs to go together with that. I'm not even going to bother looking at this drug. I'm just going to wing it and see what happens. Let's just assume that I know best. There we go. That's fair enough. So that's in there like that. There's a little bit of a seam on the bottom here. There is a seam down the middle of the hand, but if you think I'm going to try and fill that, that's not going to happen. The rest of the seams kind of blend in with panel lines on the armour, which is fine. I can live with that. So it's just really this little seam down here. So I'll go ahead and squish the rest of the arm together. But this bit, we'll get a little bit of the extra thin. Extra thin. Down the little gappity gap. Gappity gap, gappity gap. Super match game. Super match game. So yeah, just this bit here. I'll get the glue in, squish it together. That will fill the little gap quite nicely. The rest of it, not too fussed, because it's a nice tight fit. And I can't do anything about the gap in there. It's far too hard to get anything in there to sand it away. Again, I could put greebles in there or some sort of plastic card constructions to cover up the gap and make it look more busy and fussy, but I'm not going to. So that now can sit about 45 minutes. That'll be dry enough that I can sand off the excess that's splooged out at the top. Right. What's chat doing? Paul Di Tommaso is in. Hello, people. What's happening? Welcome, Paul. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dave says your job is to entertain. Our job as mods is to give you stick. Paul added it to our contracts. Okay, that's cool. The Universal Greebly, says Tom Rickliff. Yes, there is a Greeble called the Universal Greeble or Universal Greebly. It is a piece from a 1/72nd scale railgun Leopold railgun kit. I think it's Leopold. That Adam Savage and guys at ILM call the Universal Greeble. It's like a little square thing with circles on each corner, I think, if I remember rightly. And it's a part of a railway bogie wheel assembly that goes on this railgun. And it's been used, if you look at any sort of, especially if you look at any model made by ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, for sci-fi films, it'll be there somewhere. There's always a Universal Greeble. I think it was the 1/72nd scale Leopold, I think. Fluffy Gut says, Scott will be kit bashing an IDF Baneblade. Cool. Fluffy Gut says, I come here for the yap. Yeah, it's me talking about me waffling rather than, like I said before, I'd rather interact with you guys and do no work than do work and not interact with you guys at all. There's nothing interesting about watching somebody just push some bits together and glue them. It's just not interesting. Gino Valderrama, welcome. Gino says, my 1-year-old daughter really enjoyed the We'll Be Right Back music. Excellent. It's also the music that's, when the show starts, for the first half hour, I always have half an hour of just library music playing, just so people can hang out and chat and get to know each other and have a good time in chat before we actually go live at 3 p.m. So if you're ever watching another stream, I actually go live half an hour before the stream is due to start. So if it starts at 3, it'll actually go live at 2:30, but half an hour of just cheesy music. Just people can hang out in the chat. And of course, the young uns can sit around and dance to it. It's all cheerful music. Frankie the Gamer, can I use spray paint on plastic modelling kits, or would some of them harm kits? If you mean like the kind of stuff you go to your local automotive hardware store, like, car spray paints, they're absolutely fine. The only thing I would say about using automotive paints, like, you'd go to Halfords if you're in the UK or anywhere that sells like car paints, they are fine. They'll be absolutely fine, no problem at all. But they're not designed specifically with little tiny details in mind. So they might be absolutely fine, but some of them may be a bit thick. They may obscure details, as Duncan would say. They may, hide some of the fine details. So you'd probably be fine. Well, they won't harm the plastic. They'll be fine to paint with, but they might be a bit thick and viscous, and you might lose some surface detail if you go a bit too heavy, because they are designed to paint your car bumper, not paint a little tiny Space Marine with little some details. Ideally, if you can use rattle cans, I would say stick to, if that's your option, if you haven't got an airbrush, try and get yourself some rattle can, model making rattle cans, like the Mr. Colour colours, Army Painted all different colours. A lot of the manufacturers now have rattle can versions of the Tamiya rattle cans are really nice colours. But yeah, the automotive ones are fine. They won't do any harm. They're not designed to be very thin, and they're not designed with lots of little fine details in mind, if you know what I mean. Let's have a look. I sliced my finger while I was peeling the spud, says Paul at Team Inept. Don't use spray cans on Bandai plastic, it will eat it, says Butcher. No, it'll be fine. Bandai plastic's fine with lacquer paints. You can spray lacquer paints on Bandai plastic. It's not going to harm it. It's thinners. It's washes made of thinners. You can brush paint lacquer paints onto Bandai plastic fine, because it's not going to do that much damage. It's just the thinners. So if you're doing like a wash of lacquer paints, if you're doing any kind of wash on a Bandai kit that's not just water and colour, so if it's got any kind of thinners in there at all, that's what can cause the plastic. Rattle can lacquer paints, like Tamiya paints, no problem at all. It's because they're not just, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Do I use primer if I only do a matte clear? Says Frankie the Gamer. The whole point of primer is to give the paint something to grip to. So if I wasn't going to paint this, let's say this was a Gunpla kit. If I wasn't going to paint this, and it was all the right colours anyway, if all the plastic was different colours, I wouldn't need to prime it if I'm not going to paint it. If I get a grey primer, it's just going to become grey. So the entire point of a primer is to give the paint something to stick to. Because if you just put paint on plastic, it's not going to stick. It will come off really easily. Paint is designed to stick to plastic, and plastic is shiny and smooth. Primer is there to give a rough surface for the paint to adhere to. Because primer will either chemically or physically bond to the plastic in some way and stick to it. So if you're not going to be painting the model at all, there's no reason to put primer on it. If you put primer on it, you have to paint it because your model's suddenly one colour because you've got like black primer or green primer or red primer or whatever you use. If you're going to put a clear coat on it, then yes, technically the clear coat's not going to stick to the plastic very well because it's not got paint underneath it or primer, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. If it's Gunpla, 99% of people that make Gunpla build it and then put a matte coat on it, and that's it. They don't paint it. But yeah, you don't need a primer. If you're not going to paint it, you need a primer if you're going to paint it. And the question is, if you're going to paint it, when do you need to use a primer? All the time, every single time. But yeah, if you're not going to paint it, you don't need to prime it. But if you are going to paint it, you must always prime it. There's actually a conversation talking about that anyway, so there you go. I'm kind of behind on the chat, so it's just jumped, so I've lost half of that. Snowman says, I haven't started building yet, but belly full of cake and mini sausage rolls. Snowman was at his nephew's 6th birthday party, was that right? So I said, as long as you come back with full of cake. So he's belly full of cake and mini sausage rolls and juice, and I need sleep. Yeah. Well, like when you're young and you get juice and sausage rolls and stuff, you get full of energy on a sugar high. When you're old, you just get sleepy. David Butcher Model says, I might do top level and get a Bane Blade when I win the lottery or sell one of Dad's kidneys. I sprayed orange car lacquer on a Space Marine, says LD, and then used contrast paints and it looked fine, same with the white gloss base. Yeah. Love the glue holder. Where did you get it? This is my Dad's anti-spill device. If you'd like a Dad's anti-spill device, then Dad in chat is the person that makes Dad's anti-spill devices. You should start charging Dad. He'll charge you a good fee for it. It's absolutely invaluable because I can't spill my glue. Yeah. Also, at a pinch, if I'm doing shades or paint, if I'm doing shades, you made me one of these as well, which is perfect for shades. And it's got a little thing there. When I open the lid, it'll hold the lid open. So I love Dad to bits. This is my most important tool. Well, this is my second most important tool. Leave it at that. Still going through chat. Earl D says, some paints has moved. Some car metallics have pigments that look too big, says Earl D. If you want metallics that don't look like they're made of flakes, get yourself if you're not using, say, anything like the Alclad lacquers, which are really smooth. If you're using acrylics and you want to stick to acrylics, get yourself some of the Vallejo metal colour paints. They're brilliant. They are really, really fine pigment. So when you spray something with this, it won't look grainy. To me, metallics, they look grainy as hell. They look like just chalk. This stuff is really, really smooth when you spray it on. It's brilliant stuff. There's lots of different colours as well. There's like burnt steel and hot exhaust and jet exhaust and things like that. Fluffy Guts says, James Persol says, trying to drive a big truck in live chat, not the best idea. Dude, if you're driving, you shouldn't be chatting. I won't be responsible. Pull over. Pull over. Adam Clark, sorry I'm late. I can't go wrong with the Dad's device. Welcome, Adam. Fluffy Guts, anyway, yes, says, news from Orkney. News. Here's the breaking news. Keep away is the strong advice from HM Coast Guard today after ordnance was found in Scapa Flow. The wartime torpedo was discovered on the seabed during an underwater survey. The Military Explosives Ordnance Disposal, EOO, or ED, start that again. The Military Explosives Ordnance Disposal EOD team is currently expected to arrive on scene today, 23rd of June, to carry out an assessment and make it safe. I like reading the news. You've got to have a certain inflection for reading the news. So yeah, don't go to... Oh, cool. Don't go to Orkney. It's covered in bombs. Jamie Bone invites the wrath of both Scott and Fluffy Guts and says that's the only sort of excitement in the Orkneys. He said the Orkneys. Ooh, there's going to be carnage. Paul Di Tommaso is munching on some Haribo cola bottles and gummy bears. Oh, get in. Adam Clark says, all good here, not much modelling due to the baby, but I'll be back to it soon. Good effort. When the baby's 18, says Dad. Yes. Fluffy, I wish you hadn't said that. Scott is putting his wellies on to go and dig it up. Just Django says, my unicorn is breaking all over. I want to stop doing anything to it. Why is it breaking? Have you been painting it and using washes and thinners? If you've been using anything with thinners, that's why. Or is it just breaking because it's just, I don't know. If you're making a Bandai kit, don't ever, ever, ever use a wash of any kind of wash that's made with thinners. The plastic isn't baked. It's unbaked polystyrene. It will weaken and crumble if it gets exposed to any kind of alcohol thinners, lacquer thinners, oil thinners, mineral spirits. It will just eat the plastic away when it's under pressure. It would also do the same thing if you slathered it with, say, enamel paint panel line washes or enamel paint weathering washes or streaking grimes, things like that, because they're just thinned enamels. You can spray lacquers on it, you can spray enamels on it. You don't want to use anything like that, though. That's hot solvents that's going to get into the cracks. Given the thinner and gumpler thing, why hasn't the Principality of Zion ever made an enamel thinner cannon? Yeah. Richard Gibbs says, I could have done with a shade tool. I lost half a bottle of Caribou Crimson in less than an hour of owning it. Yeah, and the other thing is, you'll never get that at your desk. Oh, one other thing, by the way. I don't know if you'll see on camera. Let me zoom in. Those contrast paints. I've got to tell you, you see here on this fingernail, there's a little tiny black mark there. That little black mark on my fingernail. That is Gulliman Flesh, one of the contrast paints. That's been there for 2 weeks, and I wash my hands many, many times every day. And I use the nail. That's been there for over 2 weeks. So I think the advice will be, when we eventually get all these contrast paints and you start using them, for the love of baby Jeebus, don't spill them on your clothes. Because if it's been on my hand for 2 weeks, given all the baths and showers and hand washing that I've done for over the 2 weeks, if it's going to be in your hand for 2 weeks, if you watch any of the videos that have gone up in the last 2 weeks, you'll see there's little bits of colour in there. It's because that's 2 weeks ago. Wow. When I finish my Cesabe, I'm going to have a week of crying in tributes to such a great engineered kit, says LD. Django says, all I've done is panel lining with the slushy Gundam markers, putting decals on and moving stuff around. Have you been using any alcohol or anything to clean up your Gundam marker lines afterwards? Because none of that should do any harm at all. I suppose the option is then it's just for some reason it's actually physically breaking if it's not very well engineered. Odd. Odd. Right, what are we up to? It's right, we're doing some sticker giveaways. We've got 20 minutes. So let's just shut up, Fox. Shut up, Fox. I'll put these arms on. We'll just, for the sake of just having it backwards. There you go. Well done. Good girl. And upside down. Oh, God, you Fox. You absolute moron. What are you doing? Good God, man. For the sake of just getting that there and that on there. I've not done his legs yet. Oh, he's legless. Right, so we've done the top half. There you go. Rawr! That's going to be awesome. I'm going to have great fun. Look at that. That's brilliant. I'm going to enjoy painting that. Oh, yes. That's going to be... It's like... Think of this like a like a Gundam. There's a dude in there piloting it. It just happens that he's almost dead and it keeps him alive and he can't get out ever. But it's like a bit like a Gundam. If you like your Gundams, then you should get lots of Dreadnoughts. Anyway. Right. For cleaning panel lines, I use my thumb or cotton bud. Sometimes you dry eraser too. If you've not used any thinners, then I don't know why the plastic's breaking. Then there could be just an issue with that specific kit. Or if you've been particularly aggressive with it and moving things around. If it's the unicorn, I'm never going to make another unicorn ever because I hated every one I built. So, right, we have 4 stickers today. Model Making Guru. One from Dad, Scale Your Models. One from Colin at Festa67's workshop, which is under there, you can't see it. Move these out of the way. And one from Dave at Butcher That Model. We've got a Butcher That Model. I'm going to give these away as a pack of 2 because they're only littlies. Dave sent me a load of his stickers, but they're only little teeny tiny ones. So instead of giving you 1, which is like that big, I'll send it every time you win one. I'll send you 2 because they're littlies. So I'll give you. It's a bit fairer, isn't it? So we've got 4 stickers. I have the pen of. Where's the pen of happy writings? It is. It. Where did I put my? There it is. Right. So we've got 4 stickies. I shall write on some words. I shall say, but I shall say, I shall say, balloons. Do I say balloons? Balloons. I shall say moss. I like the word moss. And I shall put the word blip on that one. So there we go. So we've got butts, balloons, moss, and blip. So we've got 4. Why is it? Richard Gibbs put a comment in, but because other butts, YouTube filtered him out. There you go. I've unfiltered you. Right. So we're going to give these 4 stickers away. Now, as always, please remember, I've got this big pile of stickers that people have won over the last 3 or 4 months. I don't get these sent out very often. In terms of the UK ones, I might get them sent out usually fairly quickly, but outside the UK, it can be a month or 2 before I get a chance to go to the post office. So if you win one of these and it takes forever to get to you, don't panic. It will arrive when I eventually send them out. If you are waiting for stickers that you've already won, then you win any more, you still need to mail me. But yes, we'll get these done. So before we go anywhere, there's always a lag now between the chat and the video. So before we do anything, I need you to hit the refresh button on your browser and drag the little slidey bar all the way across to the right when you come back, and that will give you the most up-to-date version of this feed. So click refresh and drag. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Now. Have you done it yet? Have you done it? Have you done it? Are you do it? Do it now. Now. Hit refresh. Drag the slidey bar. Make sure you're up to date. Now remember, when we do this, I'm going to go off whoever gets the answer right first in chat will be the winner. I need to make sure it's on all comments, not just top comments. Hang on, because you guarantee I'm on top comments and I won't see all of them. But remember, you don't see the same chat that I do. When you see chat, you see it tailored to you. Just because you're first on your chat doesn't mean you're first in the real chat, because you'll see it on your computer instantly. But at that point, it's still on its way to YouTube. It hasn't been received yet. So I get them in the order that YouTube gets them. So there we go. Okay, so whoever gets the answer right first. So let us ask some questions. So first step, think of some questions. Okay, first question. Let's have a think now. Let's have a think. Let's have a think. Let's have a think. Right. First question. See if you've been paying attention. Everybody ready? Right. Where have they just found a load of World War II ordnance? Go. Where has a load of World War II ordnance just been found? I do 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 I do 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 I do 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 I do 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 do. There we go. Right, I'm going to give that one because I was looking for Scapa Flow. Technically, Orkney's right, but I was looking for Scapa Flow. And JS Idaho was the first one there with Scapa Flow, so well done, JS Idaho. You can choose one of the 4. Would you like Butts, Balloon? Well, would you like me, Dad, Colin, or Dave? Which sticker would you like? Under Scott's bed by now, says Butcher That Model. Over there, says Crano Man. No, it's up, not over. So, which one would you like? Who just won that now? I've just forgotten who I said. Yeah, JS Idaho. Which one would you like? We'll all sit here quietly and look at you. Point. Moss, please. Yes. Everybody likes moss. One of my life's dreams is to, at some point, I need to go in my garden and find some moss pigs and actually look at them under a microscope. Unfortunately, I don't have a microscope. There you go. Right, let's think of another question. So we've got 3 left. Thinking of a question, looking around the room desperately to think of something to ask. I'm thinking of a question, and the question I am thinking of is one with words. Oh dear God. Okay, here we go. Video games question. Some of you may need to Googlage this. Halo. It's a Halo question. Halo. Sir, Master Chief, sir. Right. The original Halo. The original Halo game. What was, not the number, not the registry number, but what was the call sign for the pelican that you picks you up several times during the original Halo game? What was the name? Go. The registry was Echo 419, but what was the name? What was the call sign for that pelican? Captain Keys. That's a person, George. That's a person. Dave the Pelican and Fluffy Gut says, bugger, I'm a PC Master Race. There you go. JS Idaho is again first in with Fohammer. Well done, JS Idaho. Fohammer. Echo 419. Fohammer staying on station. Cortana. How are we going to get them from inside? Well, who expects an aerial insertion from underground? So well done, JS. Which one do you want? Speedy Curate says, broadsword. And Chris says, oh yeah. So yes, which one would you like, JS Idaho? See, Vasily, you say PlayStation for life, but if you hadn't had that mindset, you could have won a sticker. You've missed out. Your choice has your life's ruined. Your life's ruined now. So yes, which one would you like, JS Idaho? Me, Dad, or Dave? Broadsword. Come on, George, you're slacking, mate. JS Idaho's taking your steam here. And Simon's not here to win either. And Dave, if you win one, you can't win your own sticker. Are you still with us, JS Idaho? Which one would you like? I sold my Xbox for a PlayStation. Yeah, and you would have won a sticker, man. Is JS Idaho still with us? Oh, there we go. Dave, please. There you go. Nice one. There you go, Dave. Your first one given away. JS Idaho. Lovely. You know what to do, JS, by the way. You may as well wait till you've know if you've won any more. If you win a sticker today, by the way, you need to send me an email. fox@modelmakingguru.com. Email's always on the screen there. Send me an email, and in the title, tell me which sticker you've won. But just send me a mail saying you won a sticker. If you're already waiting for other stickers, send me another mail anyway. If you've got 5 emails in there from saying you've won a sticker, I know I need at least to send you 5 things. So that's my to-do list, is my inbox. Right. I am painting, says George. Yeah, excuses. I shall get the Dreadnought out there to look at you, to inspire you all to answer. Right, I've got to think of some questions again now. Third question. Let's have a think. Okay, here we go. This will be a nice, easy one for all you Warhammerers. Here we go. I don't really know what you describe it as, but what is the official name for Space Marines? Go. What's the official name for Space Marines? It's not even the right game, George. Did you send that before I'd finished the question? I think you did. George gets, yay, Adeptus Astartes. There we go, George. Good man. There we go, George. Adeptus Astartes. There you go. That is the, I don't know if you call it the official Imperium department name. Adeptus Astartes. So would you like butts or balloons? Would you like me or Dad? I called myself butts. That's probably not good, is it? Which one would you like, George? Yeah. Smurfs. He's not wrong. Kid wants butts. Hey, George Jr. Kids want butts. Don't ever type that again, George. There you go. George. Lovely. You know what to do, George. Pop me an email with your name and address and all that. Like I said, if you're already waiting for some, send me another email. Dave, you can't put the question in the chat. Right, one last question. Okay, let's have a look. And think. Right, last question. It's a Star Trek question. Haha, throw you off. We ready? I don't care about the spelling. Dave, you can't put the question in the chat. Right. Star Trek. Give me the name. Oh, no, let's start that again. What is the name of the Federation runabout named after a Chinese river? Go. Obviously, it starts with USS. There's a runabout named after a Chinese river. What is the name of that runabout? Goose. Gerbils. Mephiston Red. Wooksway. George, do you need to... Chinese river, Mordraka. I need the full name, please. Full name. Dave says, I know this one. But you put the answer in. It's not your sticker. Nobody's given me the full name yet. It starts with USS. Cat. I want the full name. No, Dad tells off. No, Dave, no. I can only keep saying the full name. It's 2 words. 2 words in the name. Dad tells me off if I do, says Dave. Bless. Only because he knows you already got 300 of them anyway. Come on, folks. It's 2 words in this name. It's the USS. 1 word. Second word. Oh! I'm looking at the box for the model now, and I can tell you there's 2 words in the name. Finally, there we go. Haha. Yes, George, it is the Yangtze Kiang. Sorry, not... Yeah, go on, I'll give you that one, George. Yangtze Kiang. Yes, it's the USS Yangtze Kiang. 2 others were the USS Rio Grande and the USS Ganges, amongst others. But the Yangtze Kiang is the full name of the... And I love runabouts. I've got a kit. I've got the vintage AMT Ertl kit that I need to make at some point. It's another one that I've not had a chance to get round to. You said spelling didn't matter. Yes. Well, spelling didn't matter, but you need to give me both words. So there you go, George. Well done. I've just got income. Hang on. Simon Reynolds, I have arrived. Dude, you've just missed all the stickers and I had 4 and everything. 4 stickers and you missed them all. Part-timer. I don't know. So, George, you've got balloons as well. Well done. I shall put that in the pile. So send me an email. Awesome, awesome, awesome. The answer was still 42, says Simon. Yes. Kevin is with us. Our Lord and Saviour Kevin is amongst us. That's fine. I've had a barbecue. Stickers can wait. There you go. Yeah. So welcome, Si. Better late than never. USS Yangtze Widge, says Dave. I don't know USS Death Star, says Fluffy Guts. Beckstorm says, the Halo question reminded me, you have to check out the Halo Combat Evolved Refined mod for PC. The mod has worked for years trying to restore the original Xbox stuff. The PC port messed up. I'm not a PC gamer, but yes. The original PC port of Halo was done by Gearbox, and it was apparently not very good at all. It was not. It was all right. It just wasn't great. It was not fabulous. So, yes. But I'm a console man myself, unfortunately. I would play games on the PC, but my PC is for work, as in for this, and I can't afford to be using it for anything else. Ultimately, primarily because I spend all day working on it, editing videos and doing social media and stuff for the guru. So when I want to play a game, the last thing I want to do is sit at the same PC that I've just spent 8 hours editing a video. Yeah, so that's why I'm a console gamer, because I'm on my PC all day. I like to. The irony is, when I play on my console, I'm still sitting in the same chair that I'm sat in now, but I can kick back a bit. I can stick the surround sound system on. I can, have some good fun times. I'm not then looking at the same computer monitor that I've been looking at all day. And the other thing, of course, is I've got a widescreen, nice big computer monitor, but I've got a 52, a big fat LCD 4K TV. I'd rather play in 4K than in my widescreen 1080p monitor. Yeah. Let's have a look. Maybe you can finish your playthrough with it. This is Beckstorm. No, I don't. My computer's not powerful enough. When I have my computer made, because it's my friend that makes my computers for me, my mate Martin, I says to him, I want it built. I want you to build it with video editing and processing in mind. My PC is built specifically for video editing and, social media and stuff like that. So surfing and video production. I had no interest in gaming on it at all because it's not for that. I didn't need an expensive, video card and stuff for that. I needed to focus on 100% video production. That's what I do. So, and the thing with the video games, by the way, when I was doing some streaming, like I streamed Elite Dangerous and I was streaming Halo, what I was basically doing was streaming from the Xbox to the Xbox app on my PC, ironically enough, and then that was streaming to YouTube. However, unfortunately, although the Xbox is playing in 4K, obviously the Xbox app isn't in 4K, and it was introducing some massive, horrendous artifacting when anything moved fast. It's horrible. So the quality is ass. It wouldn't even when it was streaming at, say, 1080p, it would look great on my computer monitor, but as soon as you watch it on YouTube, the actual Xbox app itself is introducing all this nasty artifacting. So what I'm doing is, it's not fun to watch. So until such time as I can afford to get myself some sort of physical hardware streaming solution to stream straight from the Xbox to the computer and then YouTube without using the Xbox app, because it was basically I was streaming to the Xbox app and then capturing the screen through Streamlabs. So until I can get myself some sort of streaming hardware, people keep saying Elgato and stuff like that, but I don't know enough about it. I've read lots of reviews about various bits of streaming kit, and they all seem to have like nightmare issues, and I don't know enough about it to go and spend 200 quid on something that doesn't work. So yeah, I'm not exactly jumping at the bit to do that right now. I don't need to be able to record from the Xbox. I just want to be able to stream from the Xbox. Play live. I'm not interested in recording gameplay. I just want to stream it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's a lot of money to spend, and money I haven't necessarily got. So right now, it's not a priority. Priority this year is, as always, getting my car taxed and MOT'd, which is always a priority every year. But I need to get some new glasses at some point. So, oops, that's where I'm focusing at the moment. I can't play all the stuff. I'll start that again. I can't play all the stuff I like on console. Interzone says, PC gamer, more button options. Yeah, I've grown up playing on console though, so it's no biggie for me. Can I put the legs together first and then the feet? Yes, there we go. Jolly good. Plus, all my friends that actually play, like, you know, Paul and Chris, they do PC, but they also do Xbox. So that's also where more of my friends play their games. If we want to play together. I built my PC with gaming in mind, says Fluffy Guts. Yeah, mine's built with video editing in mind, so. I didn't need to spend money on a... Oh, I don't want to do that because I can't get my sanding in there. Oh, I'll have to do some sanding on these before I stick them together. Spudget. Where's my Spudget? There's my Spudget. Spudget times. Spudget times. So look, Sai asks, how's the Baneblade coming on, Dad? Not had an update for a few days. And Dad says, should be about... Dad says, coming on great, Sai, just putting on the carbon fibre aerials at the moment, then doing some typhus corrosion for the tracks, and on, lol, gonna put up a video in the week. Cool. The idea that Dad puts videos up. Dad, yeah, that'd be awesome. Do remember, all my mods have their own channels. Do go and subscribe to their channels and like and subscribe. You know, Gross Models, Butcher That Model, Dad, Colin at Festive67 Workshop, who's not actually in at the moment, but he's got his own channel. Vincent, Mr. Lowest Model Making. TK over at TK's Models. Paul doesn't have his own channel, but he does use the Team Inept channel, so go and like and subscribe to Team Inept anyway. Team Inept is where me, Paul and Chris do, well, not very often me, but Paul and Chris do video gaming stuff. Team Inept, like and subscribe. And all the other mods who I may have missed, I do apologise. Dad, obviously. Dad's in as Dad, but he's got his channel's scaly model, so do go and like and subscribe. Oh, it's 6 o'clock. Right, it's time for me to go and have my dinner. Right, that's going to do us, folks. I got carried away there. Thank you very much. I can hear the wind picking up outside with potential thunderstorm. Yes! I shall go and have my dinner. I'll get this built, and then I'll play some Fallout 4, I think, later on tonight. I'll have a bit of an evening off and play some Fallout 4. Yes, don't forget, as always, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Next week, we will make a start on the Chaos Rhino, because this will have been finished. We might get this, we'll figure it out. We'll make a start getting the Chaos Rhino built. I will be back, obviously, next Sunday with another Warhammer Sunday, so thank you very, very much. I may have an announcement next Sunday. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know yet. There's something in the works that might happen. It might not, but it might. If it happens, it's cool. If it doesn't happen, forget I ever said anything. But yes, I'll be back next Sunday. In the meantime, I will be back during the week, hopefully. I've got a little bit of sanding left to do on the Sazabi. I will do a live stream on tomorrow, on Monday, just during the afternoon, or I might make it Tuesday in the evening, maybe, just for patrons, just to get that last little bit done. Then I'll be able to start work on the Sazabi during the week, actually doing proper filming. So we might even have maybe a video by the end of the week for patrons on that. I don't know yet, but that's so don't worry if I go radio quiet for the next few days, it's because I'm working on that and it's Patreon exclusive, so you're not going to see much from me. Then next weekend I'll get back onto the Warhammers and you'll see me on the Sunday. Don't forget, of course, tonight I'm finishing now. Chris over at Gross Models, his stream starts at 8 PM tonight on his channel. He does his Warhamster Sunday or Warhamster stream. He's working on his Orc Meganobs at the moment, so go and watch him at 8 o'clock. I'll see if I can get there and be in the chat. Chris, Ted and I will be on the eModel stream on Monday night, 9 PM at BST. We'll be doing the eModel stream, and that's about it, I think. So until next time, I will say, don't forget, of course, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to subscribe if you've not watched me before. Do remember, if you could, help support me on Patreon, patreon.com/modelmakingguru. That's how I earn my living, and I'm incredibly grateful to all my patrons. They keep the lights on, they keep me paying my bills, so thank you to all my patrons very, very deeply from the heart. And if you'd like to help me out, go and have a look and see if you can help out. That's going to do us, though. I need to go and press some buttons. So I shall say, until next time, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. Go be awesome. I'll see you later on Chris's channel at 8 o'clock. And until next time, adios amoebas.